Chapter 9. 16 planes came, dropped some fuel, turned around, and flew away. The next trip would be easier than this one. The pilot had already memorized the general route. As long as it didn't snow too heavily, even without the guidance of Shui Yun's family, the planes could easily find the location. After all, there were so many tents and people wearing brightly colored clothes. At night, there was no moon and no stars. When the east was slightly bright and the fine snow was still dancing, the guardians of Rulin County opened the door and told the children not to go out. Naturally, there was no need to go to school. No one thought that school would still be open on a snowy day. The adults put money in their arms, grabbed rice bags, flour bags, or baskets on their arms, and worriedly walked out of the door. They didn't care about sweeping the snow that was more than their calves, and they didn't care about the snow that was pressing down on the roof beams. The people came out worriedly and hurried to the grain store, the butcher shop, and the vegetable oil shop. Walking in the snow, they saw traces of other people's footsteps. They became more and more anxious, afraid that they wouldn't be able to catch up. Sun Laowu lived near the east gate of the county. Although it was called the gate, it was actually only a doorway. The door had long been lost, and the function of the gate was almost lost. If it wasn't so difficult to tear down the wall, it might have been dug up and left there as a hindrance. Sun Laowu had 2 children at home. His parents didn't live together, and he was with his younger brother. He said that he would bring them back after the new year. He also had a wife who worked as hard as the men, but she fell ill because of the snow. He thought that the school wouldn't be open, so he left the 2 children to take care of his mother. He had to buy noodles and go home to make shredded meat noodles for his wife. He remembered that some time ago, he heard that the doctor said that one shouldn't eat eggs when feverish. It was best to eat noodles, which was easy to digest. There was soup and shredded meat, so the nutrition could keep up. After drinking half a bowl of soup, one would sweat and help to expel the heat. Sun Laowu had a deep impression of this, but the last bit of noodles at home had been eaten yesterday. The wind blew with the snow, and he couldn't go out at night. It wasn't clear in the morning, but at least the wind and snow had subsided. He had to buy noodles and go to the clinic to get medicine. He wasn't worried about the medicine. The great Tang had free medical care. When one went to a place and said that one was sick, there would be a doctor who would give them medicine. When one returned home, they would take the medicine according to the doctor's instructions. If one was seriously ill, they could even invite the doctor to their home or find someone nearby to break down the door and carry their wife back. What he was worried about was the price of rice and flour in the county town. The heavy snow had caused the disaster. Whenever there was a disaster, the price would increase by several times. The more severe the disaster, the longer the time, the more the price of things would increase. There had never been a difference. If I hadn't sold that old horse last month, I might have been able to exchange it for more food. What a pity, what a pity. Sun Laowu waded through the snow with 1 foot deep and 1 foot shallow. As he walked forward, he saw more and more footprints. His chest was so stuffy that he couldn't breathe. At home, there was a horse that had been discarded from the army. It had been 3 years. Normally, it was used for farming and plowing in dry fields. When it was discarded, the horse was already old. After 3 years of hard work, it seemed that its body could not hold on any longer. When he said that he would wait for the horse to die and bury it, he really couldn't bear to part with the money. When he said that he would kill it for meat, he couldn't bear to use the knife. He had no choice but to sell it last month. If he didn't sell it, when the weather turned cold, he wouldn't be able to afford to raise it. Who would be willing to use good materials to raise a horse that wouldn't be able to work next year? If he sold it for meat, he would get 500 copper coins. Now that he thought about it, it was a loss. If he had kept it until now, even if he had to sacrifice some of the materials, he would be able to get at least 1,200 copper coins. Sun Laowu rubbed his nose that was red from the cold and then used his hand to wipe off the snow that had melted into water on his face. He then rubbed it against the inside of his collar to prevent it from being blown by the wind. Even so, when the wind swept the snow on his face, he still felt a burning pain. It was as if a small knife was slicing his face. But Sun Laowu couldn't care less. He used all his strength to push himself forward. He could feel that his sweat had soaked his shoes. He didn't dare to stop. If he stopped, his feet would be frostbitten. Moreover, he still had to line up at the shop that sold noodles. He still remembered that 10 years ago, during the flood at the beginning of spring, the price of the rice in the grain shop changed every day. Later on, the price changed every day. The first time he bought a caddy of rice, it was 3 copper coins. The next time he bought it, it was 4 copper coins. It was unreasonable. There were people waiting to buy it. If he dared to make trouble, there would be people guarding the door with sticks ready to beat him. This time, it was snowing heavily. Even if the line in front of the grain shop was not full, there would still be a tail. If he was late, he might be able to get a higher price. After huffing and puffing for half an hour, he turned a corner and looked up. Sure enough, there were many people lining up. Looking at them, they knew that the price would increase, but they didn't know how much it would increase today. God, please don't increase the price of the Du family's shop too much. Thinking about this, Sun Laowu took a deep breath and coughed twice. He nervously walked over. When he saw the expression of the people in the line, he was puzzled. The people in the line who wanted to buy rice did not have anxious expressions on their faces. It was as if they were celebrating a festival and were chatting in the snow. Taking a closer look, he recognized the 2 people at the back. He hurriedly walked over and asked the 2 people who were happily chatting, "Uncle Chi, Donkey Dan, what's the price?" The Uncle Chi he was talking about did not have the surname Chi. It was just that every day, he would carry a chessboard and look for people to play chess with. He had many children and lived a rich life. As for Donkey Dan, he was younger than him by half a year. He had called him Donkey Dan since he was young. He had forgotten his full name. After all, everyone was used to calling him Donkey Dan. "Oh, it's Laowu. Is everything okay at home? Did your 2 naughty buns go to school?" Uncle Chi smiled and greeted Sun Laowu when he saw him. "My wife is sick. The 2 good-for-nothings are guarding the house. It's snowing and the school is not open." Sun Laowu replied. Before he could ask again, Donkey Dan opened his mouth. "Fifth brother, who said that the school is not open. This morning, my family was passing by the school. When I went to take a look, I saw that many children had gone to sweep the snow in the courtyard. The cook who teaches biology at the school had made a big pot of chili soup for the children to eat after they finished their chores. When I went home, I chased my 2 wastrels out and went to school too. It's open? Then in a while, I will go home to take care of my wife. Let Lao Da and Lao Er go too. If they stay at home, they will get sick. I say, how much is the shop selling today?" Sun Laowu finished talking about the children's school and asked about the price. At this time, the Du family's shop shouted, "Don't buy too much. I don't know all of you. Go home and get your household registration. Buy according to the population. Half a bushel of rice per mouth, 13 copper coins per bushel. 1 bag of noodles per mouth, 21 copper coins per bushel. If you buy too much, you will buy after you eat." Old Ho's 3rd son, scrammed to the side. "What do you want?" Hearing the shout, Sun Laowu was stunned. He raised his hand and touched his forehead. His forehead was cold. He then placed his hand on his neck. His hand was cold. He muttered, "Am I sick?" "Fifth brother, where are you feeling unwell?" Donkey Dan asked with concern. He thought that if his 5th brother was sick, there would be a sick person at home. His life would be difficult. "My ears? Why do I hear 13 copper coins per bushel of rice? I bought it 2 days ago. It was 15 copper coins. Also, when I asked, it was 24 copper coins per bushel." Sun Laowu was puzzled. "Sigh. I was wondering what was going on. I didn't hear you wrong. It's gone down. Isn't this a snow disaster? All the merchants in the province are plotting something against the heavens. You came out too late. Just now, people from other places were talking about how, in the entire Rulin County, apart from luxury goods, all other goods have been reduced in price. Rice is 2 copper coins per bushel. No matter what kind of rice it is, flour is 3 copper coins per bushel. No matter what kind of flour it is, oil is 1 copper coin per bushel. That's nothing. Cotton cloth is 2 copper coins per bushel, and ready-made clothes are half the price. Donkey Dan beamed with joy as he spoke to Sun Laowu. The more he spoke, the happier he became. He even pointed a finger at the sky. Sun Laowu blinked and raised his hand to touch Donkey Dan's forehead. His hand was slapped away by the other party. "Fifth brother, I'm not sick. Don't touch my head." Beside him, Uncle Chi chuckled and said to Sun Laowu, "This old man heard from others that when you buy meat, they charge you 1 copper coin per bushel. A bushel the width of 2 fingers is half the length of a piece of meat. Don't expect meat as thick as a pinky finger to be reduced by 1 copper coin per bushel. Also, Aya, you can't make it. You have a wife to take care of at home. Go home and get a jar and a bowl of bone broth. Tell the person who scoops the broth that there's a patient at home and can bring you some minced meat. There's also free buns, porridge, soup, and biscuits. You can't eat them. If you want to eat, you have to work. There's bone broth at noon, and you have to work as well. At night, there's a barbecue party, and you have to take care of people. You can't eat them. You're so sick that you can't eat them." As he spoke to Uncle Chi, he shook his head regretfully. However, this caused Sun Laowu to be stunned once again. He turned in a circle and looked around. It was Rulin County. He pinched his legs, but it didn't hurt. He pinched his face, but it still didn't hurt. He was cold and numb. Sun Laowu rubbed his neck. "This is strange. What are they trying to do? They can make money, but they don't want it. They just have to lower the price and sell it at the original price. We've already received their kindness, but they just have to lower the price. It's strange." Sun Laowu really couldn't understand. Other merchants would wait until there was a disaster to raise the price and sell for more money. Even if they were secretly cursed at for being black-hearted, they would still get the money. Why did the people from the Chamber of Commerce in the prefecture insist on lowering the price? Could it be that they were sick? In front of the 3 was a man dressed like a scholar. He also had a small bag of flour in his hand. After listening to the conversation of the 3 for a while, he turned his head and smiled contentedly. "Don't you understand? They're just bored and want to find some other entertainment in the market. How can I not hear what it is? Speak properly. Why are you pretending to be a scholar? Look at you, you're mixing words like literary and literary." Chi Bo's eyes widened. In any case, he had studied for 2 years. The thing he couldn't stand the most was to hear people say such things in front of him. If he had the ability, he would write a memorial and send it to the palace. "Oh, I know, Chi Bo. It's like this. Those merchants usually don't have any pressure when it comes to business. Isn't this close to the river? It's convenient to transport things, and the overall price of things is taken care of. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo don't let the prices of things be too messy. Now that it's snowing, they can't find anything else to do. They're going against the heavens. Who doesn't know that the prices of things in a disaster area will increase? They insist on lowering the prices. Isn't this going against the heavens? They say that when there's a disaster, the lives of the common people will not be good. They take out free food and have us help each other do the work. They repair the houses, clear the snow, and eat barbecue at night. It's lively and lively. They don't want to live in a desolate environment. There's another thing. I found out. They want to be in the newspapers. While it's snowing, they want to do good deeds. They want the capital's newspapers to write about them. When Xiao Bao and Cuckoo see it, they'll be satisfied. When the emperor sees it, won't he be happy as well? Being praised by either the emperor or Xiao Bao and Cuckoo is worth it. More importantly, they don't dare to raise the prices. They have Chong Pingsong in the prefecture. Once the prices change, Chong Pingsong will open. Chong Pingsong is full. It's not like in the past, when there was a warehouse open. When it was opened, it was either missing more than half of the food or it was completely rotten. There was even sand mixed in. Now, who would dare to touch Chong Pingsong? 100 heads wouldn't be enough to chop off. Once Chong Pingsong is open, would they dare to spend a lot of money to buy it all out? Xiao Bei's team is less than 300 miles away. Once they know, they'll turn around and enter the city to start killing people. As for the charges, such as hoarding, inflating prices, and so on, there's no need. Do Xiao Bei and the others need to be charged for killing people? Do they? Sun Laowu, do you think so? Sun Laowu shook his head. No, there's no need. If they want to kill, then kill. At this time, many people nearby were listening and nodding their heads. Indeed, if Xiao Bei and the others acted together, they would immediately become the Tang Empire's patrol officers. They could kill corrupt officials and bully kings. Anyone who was caught by them would be punished with 5 ranks. That's right. They're afraid of Xiao Bei and the others. Since that's the case, why don't we curry favor with them? We know that they're benevolent and righteous. The people in the capital also know that they're good businessmen. If they lose money, they'll feel better. The cultured person concluded. Another person suddenly said, if that's the case, we don't have to be grateful to them? Bah! Do you believe that if they hear this, the prices of everything will increase tomorrow? Who cares what they think? It's true that you've benefited. Touch your chest and see if you still have a conscience. If you're not grateful, then you deserve to starve or freeze to death. Uncle Chi spat a mouthful of phlegm on the shoes of the other person. After he finished speaking, the phlegm froze and some snow frothed on the shoes. The person who was scolded moved his feet in the shoes to get rid of the frozen phlegm. Seeing that there was still a mark on the shoes, he said with a bitter face, I believe. I was wrong. These are new shoes. I've only worn them twice. After he finished speaking, he squatted down and rubbed a handful of snow, wetting that area. After that, he froze again, and no trace of phlegm could be seen. Let's go forward. There's no one in front. When we get home, we still have to make shredded pork noodles for our wives. Oh right, I'll get some bone soup. Sun Laowu urged. The crowd moved forward again, and there were only 6 people left in front of him. When it was his turn, he gave the same 10-jean bag of noodles to the waiter. After paying the bill, he carried the bag of noodles and walked home excitedly. For a moment, he felt that the wind was not so cold, and the snow was not so cold. The snow on the roof and on the tree branches reflected the whole world in a silvery white, and he felt that it was bright and clear. It wasn't only one county in the entire state that was like this. 2 other counties were doing the same. The people in these 3 counties felt that the weather had changed. Those who didn't have extra food at home were no longer anxious. The rush to buy food that was supposed to happen after the disaster didn't happen at all. The commoners lived their lives as usual, or even better than usual. During the day, they would eat free food and then be organized to work. At night, they would gather together and set up a stage. They would watch the performances of people who knew some music and dance, as well as crosstalk and storytelling. At the same time, they would eat free roasted meat. It was clearly a disaster, but their lives were better. The people in the trading company breathed a sigh of relief. They were also afraid that the villagers would line up every day to buy cheap goods. If they continued to buy like that, the warehouse would be empty in a few days. Now, they were buying when they needed it. They could easily wait for the goods to come from elsewhere. They understood that when the snow disaster passed and everything returned to normal, the same goods at the same price would be bought by the villagers. Even if they had to walk 2 more steps, they would still buy from them. On the contrary, the merchants in the state took advantage of the situation to raise their prices. Later on, when they were unlucky, not only did they not sell the goods they raised, but they were also sent a telegram by the provincial governor, Feng Jishan, to the capital. He didn't deliberately complain. He only said that some merchants were selling goods at a low price to calm the disaster and to reassure the people. There were also some merchants who wanted to raise their prices, but no one bought them. He only said a few merchants. He believed that the emperor in the capital wouldn't care. The Tang Bank would send people to investigate. This involved the stability and credibility of the state. In addition, between the clouds and the water was also in the state. They would also submit detailed information. The merchants who raised their prices wouldn't be punished, but it would be difficult for them to get a loan from the bank in the future. Not only would they need to use collateral, but the collateral would also be further valued. The loan amount would also be limited, and the interest would increase accordingly. They couldn't even question them. The bank would tell them that their credit rating had been lowered. They knew why. If they didn't want to get a loan from the bank, they would have to go to the loan sharks. At the same time, their lives in the state wouldn't be good. The merchants would boycott them. The people wouldn't buy from them at the same price. If they didn't lower their prices, they wouldn't be able to sell their goods. If they lowered their prices, the merchants would also lower their prices. Even if they lost money, the merchants could easily get low interest or even interest-free loans from the bank. What would they use to support themselves? Even if they left the state and went to other places to do business, they would have to register with the local government. The local government would ask the Tang bank about their credit limit. When the time came, they would have to extend the examination time. The tax officials would check the account books every few days. They couldn't reason with them. They didn't need to say anything else. They just had to mention that they raised their prices because of the snow disaster. At this time, morality and credibility were very important. Even at the time of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, merchants without credit couldn't survive. As long as there was a credit crisis, whether it was buying or selling goods in the future, they would be affected. When buying goods, they would have to pay in full first. When selling goods, they would have to wait for the goods to arrive first. After the inspection, they would have to find a bank for a loan. The bank would repeatedly check their application. For the same house, if someone else lent you 10 million yuan, you would get 7 million yuan. Someone else would get 30% of the profit, you would get 50% of the profit. The incident in the state of Yin caused a sensation. The news was published in newspapers everywhere. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan personally praised them. They praised their actions, but told them to act according to their abilities. They said that they were trustworthy merchants with a conscience and thought for the country and the people. With this evaluation, they made a profit. Countless people were envious. They were even looking forward to their own places being affected. When the time came, they could learn how to do it. If it really didn't work, they could open branches in areas that were prone to disasters. Xiao Bei and the others also received the news that the telegram was working. They didn't know why it didn't work before, but they could only attribute it to the weather. The snow has lessened. After a while, the road will be clear. We can continue to move forward. My potatoes, if we go any later, they will sprout. Zhang Xiaobei looked at the contents of the telegram about Rulin County. She wasn't thinking about the situation there, but about the potatoes. She wanted to see how the potatoes looked like when they were harvested. There would be many people with picks and rakes digging in the ground. After digging once, they would feel the soil with their hands. They would still be able to find the potatoes. They would need to do it a few times before they could roughly dig out the potatoes, but there would definitely be some that they missed. Big potatoes could be used to make many things. The best were small potatoes. They couldn't be fried, and they couldn't be left to sprout. They could only be boiled with salt. After they were boiled, there would be a layer of salt frost on the outside, and they would be peeled and eaten as snacks. If they were late, the people there would dig out the potatoes. They couldn't wait for her to go over to watch, even if the emperor went over. Otherwise, they would sprout directly in the ground. Xiao Bei was looking forward to being able to move faster, but Xiao Yuan dampened his enthusiasm. I think it will take at least a month. How can the road be cleared after the snow stops? Have you forgotten what the county records? After a heavy snowfall, some places can't contact the outside world for 9 months. The snow we encountered isn't light either. Unless the sun shines hard, look at the sky. The day is gray, and there are no stars at night. Let's wait. Xiao Yuan, don't you think you should be looking forward to it with me? And not thinking of the worst. Xiao Bei stared at Xiao Yuan with his eyes wide open. If I always agree with you, you will easily take the wrong path. I'm doing this for your own good. Of course, I also wish to leave as soon as possible. It's best if my brother and sister send someone to take over our work. Xiao Yuan felt goosebumps all over from being stared at, so he finally compromised. Xiao Yuan, you are the best, Xiao Bei said. Xiao Yuan chuckled. Thank you. I think so too. That's why I'll give you all the snacks from the airdrop next time. You carry them and even say that I'm taking the wrong path. You are dragging me down. Did I take the wrong path? I can't walk anymore. Humph. Xiao Bei glared at Xiao Yuan, turned around, and entered the tent. He looked at the map to see which path he could take when advancing. Xiao Yuan sat alone outside and looked at the snow-covered river. He muttered to himself, "We should build a plane that can fly farther. When it's heavy, it can fly straight to the destination. Traveling on land is just too time-consuming. Perhaps they will leave behind a moo of potatoes for Xiao Bei to play with? I think I should send a telegram to get them to leave it behind. Even half a moo is fine. Potatoes and meat are best eaten when stewed together." There was another morning court session in the capital. Li Longji was sitting at the front, listening to the Minister of Revenue, Wang Bei, talk about the expenditure of the imperial treasury. Ever since deflation occurred, the banks had lowered their reserve funds and interest rates. The national treasury had also spent a lot of money. They had repaired roads, plazas, canals, sea dikes, etc. Didn't Li Longji renovate the palace? He had also renovated the various yamen. They had spent a lot of money, and the prices had finally started to rise. Now, Wang Bei needed to tell everyone where the money was spent and how it was spent. After that, there would be an audit of the accounts. Although the expenditure had been reviewed, there were fluctuations in the prices of goods. Cutting corners was impossible. There would be people watching. The main problem was that the prices of goods in the supply areas were different, resulting in the local authorities making false reports, and false reports. Yes, it looked very interesting. These three situations could lead to greed. Furthermore, the contractors and suppliers did not suffer any losses. The government's accounts did not seem to have any problems at first glance. This was requested by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Wang Bei originally thought that there was nothing for him to do, but he asked him to report the general situation. The others were also puzzled. They felt that they had learned enough economics and could easily understand that deflation and inflation were wrong. The problem was, why did they still need to audit the accounts after they had been reviewed? Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan naturally also participated in the morning court session. They wore casual clothes. When they went out in the morning, Zhang Zhong specially came to take a look at his son and daughter-in-law. He warned the two of them not to wear official robes. It was very scary. If the two of them wore official robes and rode horses all the way to the palace, wouldn't the people in the capital be scared to death if they saw them? They thought that something big had happened, forcing Xiao Bao and Cuckoo to wear official robes. Therefore, the two of them wore casual clothes. When the people saw them, they waved their hands and greeted them. They were not afraid. The officials who were qualified to attend the court session were also at ease. They mainly saw that the two of them looked awkward in official robes. They did not know why. Perhaps it was because the two of them clearly did not have high positions, but they had too much power. The estimated construction period is to end in April next year. The Yellow River near Luoyang is directly facing the north bank. An iron cable suspension bridge is to be built. The application is for 6,000 strings of coins, and the actual amount is 3,100 strings of coins. 4 Luoyang officials are to be investigated. Oh, this is not under my control. This is to be allocated. It is estimated that the construction will be completed in February next year. Work will need to be rushed in winter. Oh, this is also not under my control. The Hunan province's Yuzhou port is to be strengthened. The submission of the report request is 45,210 strings of coins and 122 coins. I scolded them. They don't even know how to cheat. They actually gave such specific figures. Are they gods? Can they calculate? The actual amount allocated is 33,500 strings of coins. The Hunan province's Day Lake area requests to increase aquaculture projects. The initial investment is estimated to be 50,000 strings of coins. This is a fake estimate that did not include a few coins, but I directly rejected it. This year, the aquaculture merchants or individuals around Day Lake paid 30,000 strings of coins in tax. At the same time, the net cage industry in Yunzhou paid 16,440 strings of coins in tax. The people around them raised them themselves, and they formed an industrial chain. Is there a need for the local government to take the initiative to raise them? They really take me for a fool. The officials of the Ministry of Personnel should investigate and see how many local officials eat fish, prawns, and crabs without spending money. Luzhou's Chao Lake requests the court to allocate funds to build a large number of viewing platforms at the entrance of Chao Lake to attract more tourists to spend money. They asked me to give them 3,000 strings of coins, saying that it will solve all the problems and provide more than 15,000 jobs. I have already sent people from the Ministry of Revenue to investigate. Because 3,000 strings of coins is not enough, they should be looking for merchants to invest. They use the land to calculate the money. I have to send people to look at the place and then collect taxes. They want to cheat me of 3,000 strings of coins? Dream on. Jiangnan's East Road. Wang Bei said one by one. Everyone listened as if they were listening to a joke. At the same time, they felt sad for the local government. They used all kinds of methods to try to cheat the court to allocate funds, but in the end, they were all targeted by Wang Bei. For example, the Day Lake government. How could they have thought that the Minister of Revenue would judge the form of the industry based on the local tax situation? Also, Chao Lake, can't you say more? Why do they have to ask for 3,000 strings of coins? Don't the officials there learn accounting? The ratio of output to investment is obviously wrong. How can 15,000 jobs be settled with 3 million coins? 200 coins for a job? Then how much is the monthly wage of these 15,000 people? The local officials are gods. Chapter 10. Wang Bei read them one by one. Most of the time, he was looking at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Every time he read something he was proud of, he would shake his head. In this regard, the civil and military officials in the court understood him. As the Minister of Revenue, Wang Bei was truly responsible. Every time he did something, he was worried about making mistakes. He was afraid of being picked on. As long as he made a mistake, the first thing people would think of was what would happen if Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were here. Wang Bei was under too much pressure. If he did his job well, he would not be praised. Even if he did things perfectly, the glory would still go to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. On the other hand, if he made a mistake, he had to bear the responsibility. He had been suppressing it for a long time. Today, when he saw Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan appear, he felt that it was time to show his face. He wanted to show the two that even without them, he could do it himself. He was the Minister of Revenue. When it came to money, he was not worse than anyone, especially not the two of them. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan listened quietly and nodded from time to time. They did not want to suppress anyone. Everyone could do their job well, so why should they worry? It was tiring. The two of them did not care, but Wang Bei was competing in his heart. Seeing that the two of them only listened and did not speak, he became more and more proud. He turned a page in the book in his hand and read, Jiangnan East Road, Suzhou Prefecture, Haiyan County. Expansion of the docks requires 3,000 strings of coins. However, due to the cooperation with Kunshan Flawless Mining, only 76,000 strings of coins is allocated. Reporting the facts, no mistakes, and Minister Wang, please wait a moment. Finally, Zhang Xiaobao frowned and interrupted Wang Bei. Oh, Commander Zhang, what can you teach me? Wang Bei was excited. The opportunity he had been waiting for had finally arrived. The opportunity to counterattack and prove that he was stronger than Zhang Xiaobao had arrived. Zhang Xiaobao thought for a moment and asked, how big is the docks to be expanded in Haiyan County? Do they need to take out 76,000 strings of coins? Reporting the facts. Before the expansion, the annual throughput was 1.25 million tons. After the expansion, the annual throughput will be 1.75 million tons. Wang Bei didn't even look at the notebook this time. Zhang Xiaobao was very satisfied with the increase of 50,000 tons. He could not expect the current Great Tang's docks to handle as much as they would in the future. Besides, sea salt small docks were not big, and they were usually used for short-distance operations. Large quantities of goods were unloaded at other docks, such as Luzhou's port and Quanzhou's port. But there was a problem. How could the expansion of 50,000 tons of sea salt require 76,000 strings of coins, which is equivalent to 1,520 copper coins per ton? Although the specific design was different, it was obviously larger than the other ports. He asked, "How is the original calculated?" Wang Ke replied, "Kunshan's Flawless Mining Company is located in Kunshan. The transportation costs for the port are higher than other places. Sea salt is mainly used for farming, sea salt production, and manufacturing. Mining resources are insufficient." Wang Bei was standing closer to Li Longji, while Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were standing at the bottom. They weren't wearing their official robes, so they ran to the bottom. He looked down as if he was looking down on them. Zhang Xiaobao did not care about the other party's attitude at all. He smiled and said, "Does Kunshan's Flawless Mining Company have to mine from Kunshan to expand Sea Salt County's port?" "Of course. Is there a better place around here?" Wang Bei asked. "Sea salt is across Hangzhou Bay. Opposite Hangzhou Bay is Yuyao, which is rich in granite and kaolin. One is directly used for construction, and the other is used for cement firing. The distance between Hangzhou Bay and Hangzhou Bay is very short. Sea Salt is building a cement factory there, and instead of using Yuyao's resources, they went to Kunshan to transport raw materials." "Minister Wang, do you believe it? Kunshan's Flawless Mining Company is a classic example of making false claims or colluding with the local government. Where did the extra money go?" Zhang Xiaobao did not need to look at the map at all. Hangzhou was so famous. As a swindler, how could he not know about the resources of various places? Wang Bei was stunned by the question. He blinked and thought that it made sense. According to the map, Kunshan was closer to sea salt than Yuyao. However, considering the speed and convenience of transportation, as well as the mineral content, Yuyao was worried about Kunshan in all aspects. Zhang Xiaobao said, "The most important thing is that Yuyao has a lot of skilled workers. Did they not borrow workers from Yuyao to build the docks, hire manpower, and process the stones?" This. Wang Bei was stumped. The civil and military officials looked at him together. Sweat dripped down his forehead. "Ha ha." Li Longji laughed. He did not care about this small problem. How could the people under him be so clean? Hearing the emperor's words, Wang Bei gritted his teeth and said angrily, "Damn it, you lied to me, and you want to transport by land? Investigate." Wang Bei did not refute that the people from Kunshan's Flawless Mining Company did not know about the situation. If they did not know, then the local government in Sea Salt also did not know. They were clearly setting up a trap to gain more profits. This was how the national treasury's money flowed out. If one looked at the government's accounts, they would not find any problems. They had to look at Kunshan's Flawless Mining Company and the local Kunshan's accounts. Wang Bei knew how to look. Didn't Flawless Mining Company mine from Kunshan? Then the local revenue tax would include this. If they could not take it out, then it would be a problem. If they could take it out, then the local government would have to pay the tax themselves. There was also the logistics account. Kunshan's Flawless Mining Company did not have logistics, so they could not afford it. This would increase the cost, unless they built a logistics company to not only transport their own goods, but also take on other people's work. Finally, they had to investigate the revenue of Yuyao's yamen. They also needed political achievements. Could it be that Kunshan's Flawless Mining Company had bribed all the officials in 3 places? How much would it cost to bribe officials across the state? Wang Bei was angry. He was angry at himself for not finding the problem. He was angry at the local government in Sea Salt. They tricked him. Finally, He was angry at himself for not being able to compete with Zhang Xiaobao. What was Zhang Xiaobao doing all day? Wasn't he keeping an eye on the new medicine research and industrial research? Looking at Wang Bei's awkward expression, Zhang Zhong could not bear it. He felt that Wang Bei was very unlucky. Why did he always run into his son? His spirit was praiseworthy, but his behavior could not be encouraged. If he kept losing, it would affect his work. Xiaobao, since you know, then what about the money? Zhang Zhong helped Wang Bei ask. How would I know? Zhang Xiaobao spread his hands and answered. Yu Wenrong asked, you have always been in charge of the Great Tang Bank. The government's accounts all go through the Great Tang Bank. How could you not know? The Great Tang Bank covers a lot of areas and has a lot of business. The daily entry and exit quota is more than 100 million strings of coins. I can't keep an eye on a small place like sea salt, right? Besides, the 70,000 strings of coins was not a one-time expenditure. According to the progress of the project, I estimate that most of the money is still in the Sea Salt County government's account. Zhang Xiaobao spoke the truth. 70,000 strings of coins was indeed very small. He also didn't try to trip Wang Bei up by saying that the money was gone. Wang Bei clapped his hands vigorously and said, Good, right, according to the progress of the project, most of the money is still in the account. Seal their accounts for me, including that Kunshan Flawless Mining Company. Seal their accounts for me as well. I want to see the data and see who they gave the money to. Zhang Xiaobao said indifferently, Send the documents. Once the documents are sent, the bank will be sealed. If there is a problem, the person who sent the documents will bear the responsibility. As for checking the Kunshan Flawless Mining Company's accounts, he won't be able to find anything by just checking. He can give the money to a logistics company, or he can give the money to some mine in Kunshan. When the time comes, he can just transfer the money. As for the logistics company, it depends on which government office they are registered with and how big their network is. If it is big enough, they will settle the accounts. Then give me a seal too. I will send people. Xiaobao, the Ministry of Revenue will send people again, wasting money and manpower. In the end, you can do something, okay? Wang Bei's attitude changed. He realized that it was too difficult to send people directly from the capital. Not only was the journey long, but the local people would also resist. If he really wanted to find something, he didn't know how long it would take. He knew that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan controlled spies all over the country, not only in the country, but also abroad. They were practically everywhere. If the other party was willing to help, all he had to do was say something. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head and refused. No, where can I go? Just as Wang Bei was getting angry, Zhang Xiaobao said, Minister Wang can report this matter to the Tang Dynasty's 9 patrolling inspectors. They have the responsibility of patrolling the area. Wang Bei was happy. Yes, he couldn't just let Zhang Xiaobao do it. Even if he knew that his family's spy system was powerful, he would be roasting him on the fire. Without a name or status, who would dare to directly have a spy? The other party was a business person who only collected business intelligence for his family and supervised his own industry. He didn't target the government or the bank. If it was Xiao Bei and the others, it would be different. Xiao Bei and the others were working for the imperial court, so it was legitimate for them to use the spy system. Many thanks. Wang Bei clasped his hands toward Zhang Xiaobao. At this moment, Zhang Xiaobao took out a large stack of papers from his bag. He didn't hand it over to the eunuch and walked up to Li Longji's side. He placed the papers on the table and said, with the rapid development of Great Tang's economy, all sorts of things will happen. In the past few days, Cuckoo and I have checked the laws of Great Tang. It's pretty good, and we've added in quite a few regulations. However, there are still some lacking. The two of us took some time to come up with a few outlines for the current situation. We'll have to trouble our colleagues in the Bureau of Rights. Apart from that, there are also some administrative regulations. This is especially so for the government's investment in construction and procurement. In order to be more transparent, there are also requirements for one's aptitude and funding. However, This will also increase the authority of the Great Tang Bank. We also need to strengthen the manpower of the bank's supervision department, as well as its administrative supervision. The things that Cuckoo and I have provided aren't perfect, so we can only manage the current situation. As production technology and productivity increase, the economic development model will become more diverse, so we'll have to continue to supplement it. After saying this, Zhang Xiaobao strolled off. Li Longji wasn't looking at the papers on the table, but at Zhang Xiaobao's back. He knew that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were doing their best not to participate in the affairs of the imperial court, but when they saw a problem and didn't want the officials of the imperial court to take the wrong path, they had no choice but to take action. The original plan was to make them princes and give them a piece of land, but the two of them didn't agree. They said that in the future, the Great Tang would be a single entity, including the overseas territories. In the future, everything would be part of the Great Tang's territory and not just in name. At the same time, they would take back all the fiefs, both in name and in reality. Only this way could they reduce the potential for division in the future. So how should they be rewarded? There was nothing to be rewarded. According to the history books, if there was nothing to be rewarded, they should be killed. The problem was that they couldn't be killed, unless the Great Tang was thrown into turmoil, causing the people to lose their support and the flames of war to rise. So be it. They could do whatever they wanted. In any case, they didn't want the throne. Li Longji watched as Zhang Xiaobao left. He didn't mention the matter of reward, much less praise. The officials also silently watched as Zhang Xiaobao left. They understood history and knew that the current situation was very complicated. Of course, it was also very simple. There had never been an existence like these two in history. They could clearly command the world, but they were concerned with other matters. Their achievements intimidated the emperor, but the emperor wasn't willing to kill them, nor could he kill them. Even those officials who had been stripped of their status as nobles and great clans knew that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan weren't just useful to the imperial court. They were also a sort of faith for the people. Just look at how the people of all regions had to offer incense to the tablets of these two people every day. This was even better than the worship of that so-called religion that was about to enter the Great Tang. If something were to happen to the two of them, the sky would collapse for the people. Thus, the current situation was very good. The two of them were still young and could maintain this state for many years. Let's talk about the future in the future. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't stay for long. After delivering the items, they turned around and left. First, they had to go to the research base of the Ministry of Works to see the progress of the various research areas. For example, the steam engine used on ships, as well as multiple sets of diesel engines for ships. The two of them didn't want to change the development model of ships. From human power to sail power to steam power, diesel power, steam power, and finally nuclear power. Xiaobao, we still have to increase taxes, Wang Wan said as she looked at the pedestrians on the street. Increasing property tax and inheritance tax won't do. It doesn't match the current cultural traditions of the people, Zhang Xiaobao said. He knew that the faster the economy developed, the more obvious the trend of the flow of money would be. Even with free medical care, free education, and free job training, the polarization would increase. Thus, they could only continue to narrow the gap through administrative and legal means. Since the first tax increase, there had been 3 tax rate adjustments. However, the people who had paid for the tax increase still accepted it and didn't show any strong opposition. This showed that this was the golden period of their industry's development. They knew how easy it was to earn money. After the golden period of some industries passed, new support and compensation plans would be needed. Yes, many people like to buy houses now. After buying them, they just leave them there. When other people come over and don't have a house to live in, they can only expand. Many economic crises start with housing. We can't wait until we can't control it and then regret it. Wang Wan followed. She knew what had happened in that era too well. It seemed that in those 100 years, all economic development and economic crises revolved around real estate. Who asked it to be able to drive all industries? When the weather is warm, let's go traveling. Zhang Xiaobao didn't want to consider so many problems now and changed the topic. When Xiaobei and the rest come back, let's go overseas. There are warm places outside. Enjoy life and don't always stay in Beijing. When we come back, we'll ask Li Longji to go around the country. He's quite pitiful. Wang Wan's eyes lit up when she heard that they were going to travel. Many places still had their original scenery. They formed a fleet and went to America for a stroll or to Australia. Some businessmen had already gone to Australia and brought back koalas to raise them. When they were outside, they could see the scenery, see the animals, eat good food, and bring back some gemstones. Africa was a good place. There was also the Nile River and the Rhine River. She believed that they had their own unique scenery. We also have to go to the Mediterranean Sea to experience the climate there. Zhang Xiaobao was also filled with yearning. He didn't want to play around in Great Tang. The world was so big, and he wanted to see the world. The two talked as they walked, comparing their knowledge from time to time. Xiaobei's side finally set off. The snow had stopped, and the road wasn't easy to walk on. However, they couldn't stay here forever and wait for the snow to melt. The speed of the group was very slow, but they were also very determined. Time quietly passed while everyone was busy with various things. In many places where the weather wasn't very cold and there was no frozen ground, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family were building an airport, a simple airport. The performance of the plane was not good, and its endurance was poor. They also needed the plane to fly to various places in a timely manner. Thus, there was only one way left. They had to build more airports, train maintenance personnel, and transport parts and fuel. When there was a need, no matter where the plane took off, it would be able to quickly reach the destination after a transfer. Now, there was a shortage of workers. Great Tang urgently needed more people. Besides giving birth and slowly raising them, the only way was to bring people from other places. An urgent order was passed down, requesting that the fleet carrying out ocean trade bring back more people. They had to work hard in places where there was conflict. There were those who knew that the locals knew how powerful you were and wouldn't fight you. They could only tempt you with money and benefits. But sometimes, there were people who liked to cause trouble. Even if they knew that they couldn't stop Great Tang's development, they still insisted on causing trouble for Great Tang in various aspects. When they couldn't attack Great Tang or attack the Great Tang fleet or merchants in other places, they would lobby the locals, especially those who had formed a religion or a country. They liked to target such people. The method of lobbying was simple. They would constantly tell the other party how good Great Tang was, how happy the people there were, what things were cheap to buy, and what they usually ate. After saying all this, when the locals were full of ambition, they would tell the locals how expensive the local things were in Great Tang, and how the Great Tang merchants would lower the price. In this way, the locals would feel that they were losing out when trading with each other. Chapter 11. Trade was profitable to begin with. The size of the profit depended on the cost and the buyer's demand. The cost included many things. Simply put, it was the cost of production technology, the cost of production materials, the cost of labor, the cost of publicity, the cost of transportation, and the cost of taxation. Was the cost of goods sold by Tang merchants to other places high? Naturally, it was not high. If one really wanted to talk about it, it was high in technical research and transportation. However, the profit earned was not small. This was because the buyer did not have the corresponding technology and wanted to have it. In such a situation, those who did not raise the price were not merchants but philanthropists. After being promoted by some people, those who could afford it did not care. The watches produced by Tang were luxury goods. They wanted to buy cheap ones, but they did not want to buy them locally. In a situation where they could not personally go to Tang to buy, they instead hoped that the price of the goods would gradually increase, especially the goods they already had. Even a person who did not understand economics and social ideology knew that owning luxury goods was equivalent to owning status. If the watch bought today required 100 sheep to be exchanged, the same watch tomorrow would be 80 sheep, and the day after tomorrow would be 60 sheep. In the end, this kind of watch could not be sold. No one bought it, even if it could tell the time, even if it was beautiful. However, it was depreciating. Not only was the number of sheep reduced, but also the identity and status of the owner. Those who could not afford Tang's goods thought the opposite. They could not compare to those with money and status through their own efforts, so they hoped to use other methods to make those with money and status lose. It was a common thought of social individuals, regardless of system. It was a very complicated social relationship and a very simple social psychology. The people behind the scenes would also find the latter and tell them the truth. They could not afford it, but they would criticize and criticize like consumers who were about to spend. They would criticize Tang merchants for selling cheap things to them at expensive prices and making them pay more. They would protest and ask for Tang merchants to lower the price. Tang merchants could not lower the price. They had to protect the interests of the rich and status people who bought the products and also maintain their own profits. Therefore, those who wanted to sabotage continued to promote, letting those who could not afford to buy things accumulate emotions and prepare for the moment of explosion. Even if the people who wanted to sabotage Tang clearly knew how powerful Tang's military strength was, even if they knew that people who were exploited would be severely punished for attacking Tang people, they still did it to make things difficult for Tang. Among them, the Japanese were the worst. Silla had already been dealt with to the point that it did not have the slightest bit of strength left. Moreover, because of the border and frequent land and sea connections, many natives had already migrated to the Great Tang. Naturally, there were also people from the Great Tang who had colonized the Great Tang. The Great Tang did not casually colonize other countries. It was not that they did not have the ability, but that they were afraid that they would become independent in the future. The Great Tang's military strength was still lacking, and this was primarily reflected in its lack of ability to engage in long-range attacks for a short period of time. Thus, it was not allowed to casually colonize. Even if the colonized areas could have military strength, they were not allowed to have military equipment and technology. There were colonists in Japan, and there were also officials sent by China to govern Japan together with the Japanese. Many Japanese had already accepted their fate, or perhaps they liked their current life very much. They felt that if they cooperated well with the Great Tang officials, their lives would be better than before. But Japan was close to the Great Tang, and its culture had been passed down quite well. It wasn't so barbaric that it couldn't even have its own language. As the Great Tang developed, it began to trade with Japan, especially in its first few years of hibernation. Japan sent people to the Great Tang to study, and trade was frequent. With culture came ideas. When they saw the Great Tang rapidly improving, they also wanted to learn and take advantage of it. As they studied, they realized that the Great Tang had begun to invade them, an invasion even more frightening than a military invasion. At first, they didn't understand the new invasion method, but by the time those with insight discovered it, the Great Tang's economy and culture had basically stabilized. Those in power had been corrupted, and many of the common people had been brainwashed. Those with insight were unwilling to accept this, and they launched many revolts, but they were all crushed. As they watched Japan fall into the hands of the Great Tang day by day, these people began to change themselves for the sake of revenge. They no longer held revolts or rebelled. They did everything they could to come to the Great Tang, working as coolies, small traders, and even women. They earned money and studied. In truth, what they wanted to do the most was to kill Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Zhang Xiaobao was their number one target. They knew that Wang Wan was also very formidable, but that was only in terms of military command and basic education. Zhang Xiaobao was the true leader and planner of this new invasion. Some of them worked near the ports, and they saw with their own eyes that every time Zhang Xiaobao ordered the Great Tang ports to ship grain to Japan or restrict grain shipments, Japan would lose a large chunk of its currency. It seemed that what was being lost was currency, but the Great Tang didn't want Japanese money. It wasn't that ordinary merchants didn't want it. They would use money to buy things back. Every loss was inevitably an outflow of resources. Those with insight in Japan had concluded that when goods were outflowed, the greatest damage was to the ruling class and the culture of the people. Any action personally ordered by Zhang Xiaobao was bound to cause the Japanese people to be dissatisfied with the ruling class. At the same time, they would be even more loyal to the Great Tang because of the basic survival resources provided by the Great Tang. What a frightening action! What a deserving Zhang Xiaobao! Half a year ago, Several people in this organization had persuaded a powerful quasi-ruler in Kobe to establish a bank on the same level as the Great Tang Bank to take in the local currency. They wanted to find an opportunity to trade with the Great Tang and exchange currency with the Great Tang. When the bank was established, they received a large sum of money. More importantly, the Great Tang had also used goods as collateral to lend money at a low price. The interest was very high. A month's interest was 2%. A year's interest was 24%, and it was even higher in leap months. But a month later, the Great Tang's grain shipments to Japan began to decrease. Most of the grain shipments were from Kobe, and at the time, there hadn't been any problems. Later on, some people began to buy grain at high prices around Kobe. Last month, the people living in Kobe were forced to raise the price to buy from others. At this time, the Great Tang's grain shipments stopped. A month later, the Great Tang's main wheat region in Jiangnan would have a harvest, but the Great Tang said that it didn't have enough grain. Half a month ago, someone suddenly ran to the Kobe Bank and used the Great Tang's wheat harvest in half a month's time as collateral to borrow a large amount of money from the Kobe Bank. Before they could figure out what was going on, the quasi-ruling clan of Kobe had lent a large amount of money to the Great Tang. In the end, the Great Tang began to buy grain from Japan while using Japanese money to exchange for Great Tang reserves. And then they said that the purchasing power of 100 copper coins in Japan had become 30 copper coins. This was called devaluation, and internally, it was called inflation. And when the Great Tang people who had borrowed from them did not return the money due, the other people began to run on them, and the Kobe Bank went bankrupt. The Great Tang began to lower the credit rating of the Japanese currency. Fortunately, they had been smart enough to transfer the loan to their own government before they went bankrupt. The money the Great Tang had borrowed would still have to be returned when the time came. But yesterday, the day before the wheat was due, they returned the money. Including the interest, the money they returned was 1/3 of the actual purchasing power of the loan. In other words, 2/3 of the money was earned by the Great Tang. And this was not the end. Today, the Great Tang announced that it would raise the export tariff of its new wheat exports by 10%. The reason was not that they could just raise the tariff as they wished. No, it was that the Great Tang's currency had begun to inflate, and its purchasing power had decreased. Thus, if the Japanese wanted to use the Great Tang's money to buy things, they had to adjust the tariff accordingly. The problem was that the Great Tang statement was based on your previous deflation. But why didn't the Great Tang lower the export tariff during the deflation? Could it be that the Great Tang put a portion of the losses from the deflation on us? And all of this was because of Zhang Xiaobao. When he heard that Zhang Xiaobao was looking at the new breed of pigs at the Senongxi temple, he casually said these words. Wang Wan added a few words from the side, and thus, the current situation was created. How could such a person be allowed to live? One was a trade, and the other was a currency. We need to think and think before we can understand the principles behind it. The two of them seem to have known the process and the result long ago. They were very familiar with their methods. The most important thing was that Zhang Xiaobao's actions were never so simple. Now, he had just crushed a bank and earned 2/3 of the money. He could also earn another 10% of the grain exports. However, those who knew him well knew that he would always use a series of schemes. The matter was definitely not over yet. This was only the beginning. So what they had done before was right. They had to continue doing it. They could not let themselves be beaten and not fight back. It was just that they did not do it properly last time, and the Great Tang seemed to have taken advantage of it. But there would be a time when they would do it properly. The insightful people among the Japanese continued to walk forward in a dilemma. 2 days had passed since the increase in the export tax. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were going to the Ministry of Works and the Research Institute today. The weather was warm. The capital was still occasionally cold, but Jiangnan was already in summer. In a few more days, the lotus flowers in West Lake will bloom. Xiaobei and the rest are not in a hurry to come back. Come back quickly. We still have to bring them to Hangzhou to play. Zhang Xiaobao was thinking about the trip. Xiaobei and the rest had said that the potato harvest was good, so they were processing chips there. How long had it been? Could they still be processed? If they are willing to ride horses there, then let them play. You still want to go out? I heard that many people want your life. Wang Wan smiled and asked. There are many people who want my life. They have to have the ability to do so. I am not going out incognito anymore. I am going out with a large group of people. I still want their lives. Don't think that I don't know who instigated the attack on our merchants in Sumatra. If they succeed, I will admit that they are powerful. In the end, those hundreds of people failed, and they gave us an excuse to further intervene with military force and ask for compensation from their country. They also ceded land for us to train and station. If they have the ability, they can continue. Whoever dares to do it, I will cede their country's land. If they dare not, I will destroy them. They still want us to sell the goods at a lower price? If we sell them at a lower price, the first to oppose us will be their comrades. Zhang Xiaobao curled his lips and said. Wang Wan added, let's not talk about that annoying matter. Today, the Research Institute said that they will give us a surprise. Let's see what is going on. Chapter 12. The drizzle continues, and the passers-by cross paths with the swallow. The cold light festival, and the hazy early summer. Singing and studying lightly, and lying down in the mountains. The chest is warm, and the clouds are intertwined, brushing against the warm glow. Zhang Xiaobao said that he was not going to visit the Research Institute incognito, so he definitely would not sneak into the Research Institute. After he and Wang Wan left the house, there were 500 members of the seedling protection team around them. Each of them held a submachine gun and vigilantly looked at everyone around them. The drizzle continued to fall from the sky. When the passers-by who were in a hurry saw the seedling protection team in their formation, they immediately hid to the side. The shop assistants at the roadside hurriedly pulled the people standing at the entrance into the shop and did not allow the people in the shop to come out. The shop assistants on the second or third floor rushed up and stood at the window with their backs to the outside. People who wanted to eat were not allowed to see the rain outside. The people all knew that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were going out. As residents, they would consciously minimize the possible danger. Then, they would secretly look at Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's clothes and expressions. First of all, they had to confirm whether they were wearing official uniforms. When the two of them wore official uniforms, it was usually when they encountered an important matter. The people would wonder, what was the matter? If they were not wearing official uniforms and were walking around in casual clothes, it was obvious that they were relaxing. If the two of them were not wearing official uniforms and were still in a hurry, it was guaranteed that they had encountered an urgent matter. The people would be very anxious. Today, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were wearing jackets, jeans, sneakers, and an armed belt around their waist. A row of knives, pistols, and magazines could be easily seen on the armed belt. There was also a revolver on their right thighs. The two of them did not have umbrellas, so they chatted as they walked. They were not walking fast, and their expressions were natural. The people were relieved that nothing was wrong. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were out to play normally. After the procession passed by, the shops returned to their original state. The pedestrians continued on their way, discussing where Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were going to play today. No one felt that the two of them were arrogant, and no one said that they were afraid of death. If the two of them did not bring guards, the common people would be angry. They would feel that the two of them were not responsible for themselves and the great Tang. They would feel that the two of them were making the common people panic, that there was a problem with their morals, that their character was bad, and that they were selfish. When the team was about to leave Vermilion Bird Avenue, a person who was cleaning up the mud on the side of the road straightened up. When he saw a group of people with guns, he wiped the sweat mixed with rain on his forehead with his arm and greeted them warmly. Xiao Bao, Cuckoo, are you busy? Take an umbrella. Be careful of the cold. Zhang Xiaobao did not know the other party, but he still responded warmly, It's nothing, little you. There's no need to rush. The Research Institute said that there's something good, so I'm going over to take a look. When you're done with your work, go to Savant's restaurant to take a hot bath and warm up some wine. You're on my tab. You're too polite. You stink, and I'm afraid that people will be annoyed. The person who greeted them declined, but he was in a particularly good mood. He felt more energetic when he worked. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan walked like this, greeting people along the way. The streets were very lively, and the rain did not dampen the enthusiasm of the common people. If there was something that was lacking, it was naturally the children. Today was not a holiday. The children under 5 were in kindergarten, the children above 5 were in school, and the younger ones could not be carried out for a bath. The team walked for an hour and a half before entering the mountainous area where the research institute was located. The cement road extended all the way in, and there were watchtowers on both sides. The soldiers on the watchtowers were patrolling with guns, and some people were using binoculars to observe further. When they saw Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan appear, they hurriedly picked up the phone to inform the people inside. The team entered without any hindrance. No one asked for a password, and no one ran down to check their IDs. They continued to walk along the road. After walking for 2 kilometers and passing by several hidden sentry posts, a teaching area appeared in front of them. There were many tall buildings inside. Due to confidentiality, students who were qualified to participate in the study were not allowed to leave the school at will. There were also strict restrictions. If one's family was far away from the capital, then they had to move. After leaving, there might be people secretly following them. One was responsible for protection, while the other was responsible for surveillance. The students could understand, so they did not object. Many times, when they missed their family, they would ask them to visit. The school had specially prepared rooms for visiting family members. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan liked to see how others looked when they were studying in class. In the past, when they came here, they would always stay outside one of the classrooms to listen. Today was no exception. Someone was playing basketball on the field in the rain. Playing basketball was not a problem, but what interested the two of them was that the person dribbled the ball while reciting the periodic table of elements. In addition to the older children in their teens, there were 4 children who could be seen in order of age. They were 4 little girls. They wore the same clothes and had the same hairstyle. They looked like they were the same person at different times. The 4 little girls did not pay attention to the game on the basketball court. They were staying under the canopy, holding a few batteries and light bulbs, and assembling a video player. A large roll of film was placed next to them. The 4 oldest girls, who looked to be around 8 years old, were seriously assembling the video player according to the words written on a piece of paper. The other girls, who should be her younger sisters, looked with eager eyes and occasionally asked a question. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at each other, revealing a comfortable smile. This was an era of learning. This was an era where children knew how to work hard. Most children were willing to go to school. A small number of children who did not want to study, attracted by the school's benefits and various handicraft courses, endured the boredom of studying and went to school. The benefits were naturally the Treasure Candy House series amusement park rides. The better the grades, the more free rides they would get. If they did not go to school and had no money, they could only play ordinary free rides. Like electric trojans and small trains, if they wanted to play, they had to pay. If they did not have money, they still wanted to play. If they went to school, they had to eat free cake and ice cream. If they had good grades, they would get it. This learning was not only about mathematics and language, but also other aspects. If you could make a small motor and small plane by yourself, you could be considered to have good grades. It felt quite simple, but for children, if they wanted to make it, they still had to learn mathematics and language because they needed to measure the size and understand the introduction text. Now that the 4 little girls were taking the initiative to learn, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were even happier. The 2 of them quietly came around the 4 children, which was behind the older children. The 2 of them moved little by little while maintaining the same posture, looking at the basketball court. When they were far away, the 2 little girls actually saw them, but because they were too far away, they did not pay attention and continued to watch the movements of their sisters' hands. They waited and slowly moved over. Because of the psychological inertia, the 2 girls did not feel that anything was wrong and continued to watch the movements of their sisters' hands. What is wrong? When the positive and negative electrodes are connected, the light bulb will light up and shine on the film, and the image will be displayed on the screen in front of us. But why doesn't the light bulb light up? The oldest girl was very distressed. She fiddled with the battery and the light bulb, but the light bulb did not light up. She had already tried to connect it back and forth. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan stuck their heads out to observe and then found the problem. The filament in the light bulb was broken. When the two of them got closer, they were finally noticed by the older child. When she turned her head, she was first shocked, then she shouted happily, "Brother Xiaobao, Sister Cuckoo, we are here to see brother." "Okay, come often." Zhang Xiaobao smiled and nodded. "Then, Brother Xiaobao, can you tell me why the light bulb doesn't light up?" The girl was still thinking about this. Zhang Xiaobao naturally had to answer to the studious child. He took the light bulb and said to the four children, "First of all, we have to understand the principle of the light bulb. The current light bulb is when an electric current passes through an object, and then there is an obstruction to the current. We call it resistance. Then, under the obstruction, it will heat up and light up. In the absence of oxygen, the loss of the light bulb is very small. Then, the premise is that there is resistance, and there must be an electric current passing through. Like a river, if the resistance is small, the water will continue to flow, but if the resistance is too big, the water will be cut off. The premise is that the river has to be smooth. If the river itself is cut off, can there still be water flowing? Obviously not. The same goes for electric current. Look, the filament is broken, the current cannot pass through, and the light bulb does not light up." Zhang Xiaobao explained patiently. Then, he gently adjusted the light bulb in his hand and shook it a little. Because the broken filament was long, he shook it a little and it clumped together. At this time, the resistance was higher, and the filament would be burned again, but it could hold on. Wang Wan had connected a few batteries into a battery pack and used a wire stopper to hold it. She passed 2 wires to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao wrapped one wire around the butt of the light bulb, and the other wire pointed to the center of the light bulb. Shwa! The light bulb lit up. Wow! The 4 little girls shouted happily and looked at Zhang Xiaobao with admiration. Wang Wan smiled and said, "Learning is learning this way of thinking. First know why, then solve it. What I know is called knowing why, but I also need to know why." The older child used the knowledge she had learned. Then, Brother Xiaobao, Sister Cuckoo, after learning this knowledge, can we solve any problem? A younger girl asked. Of course, if we can't solve it, it's because we haven't learned it well enough. Wang Wan could not deny, but she did not say that. There were many things that could not be solved. Then, can we make the sky clear? I hate rain. The little girl frowned and looked at the sky outside. Yes, as long as we know why it is raining, we can think of a way to make the sky clear. Although Wang Wan could not blow away the clouds now, she still left this idea to the children. However, just as she finished speaking, the rain stopped. Then, a crack appeared in the dark clouds in the sky, and a ray of sunlight shone down, slanting on her body. Wow, you are really a god. The 4 little girls stared at Wang Wan. Sigh. Wang Wan sighed. She said in her heart that she wanted them to have the motivation and interest to learn, not to let them believe in the existence of God. But the heavens did not help and deliberately made trouble. Chapter 13. Who does the cliff belong to? Time comes to urge me. Singing to the end of the sea, I follow you for life. The sunset is intoxicating, the sunset is adorned, fishing for the sky. It is the green waves and bright moon returning with a flute. When the sun came out, the broken filament was temporarily reconnected. The 4 little beauties of different ages continued to study their movie. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan quietly bid farewell. After the rain stopped, there were more and more people on the sports fields. Some played badminton and let the ball get wet and hit their opponents. Some kicked the shuttlecock until the ground was covered in mud. Some played soccer and aimed at the glass. Some stuffed stones into the ant hole to help make it waterproof. This was a group of happy students. A group of lively and kind-hearted students. A person who was said to be the vice president of the research institute was sweeping the leaves that had been knocked down by the rain. The students strolled around him and no one disturbed his work. "I am the vice president. Can't you see that I am working? You people who don't have a high enough status should know to be respectful." The person who was said to be the vice president swept for a while and was covered in mud by the broom. He straightened up and looked at the 3 students who were not even 20 years old and said unhappily. The 3 students first looked at the mud marks left by the broom and said something funny to each other before turning around and leaving. Maybe it was because he realized that sweeping the leaves was a very stupid thing to do. The vice president helplessly shook his head and muttered, "My status is much higher than theirs. They actually don't care about me." Sigh. People's hearts are not what they used to be. "He's new, right?" Zhang Xiaobao looked at the person who was leaving and asked the assistant beside him. "Yes, he took office 6 days ago. He is the last-ranked vice president. He is very rigid. He used to be the county magistrate of Wuzhou's Yiwu County. Because the economic development of the county was too slow, he was transferred to the capital. Later, because of his rigid personality, he was sent here to manage the warehouse." The assistant introduced the situation of the vice president. "Very good, make the best use of people." Wang Wan felt that this arrangement was not bad. She turned around and said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Do you see? When one's status reaches a certain level, those with a lower status are like those at the top of the mountain and those at the bottom of the mountain. They look at each other and are both so insignificant. No one will care about you." Zhang Xiaobao replied to Wang Wan with a big smile and said, "Then I would also like to be on top, because I can spit, pee, and blow my nose from the top, and the people below can't spit up." "Don't be so disgusting. This is the Research Institute, a sacred place." Wang Wan stepped aside, as if she was afraid that Zhang Xiaobao would spit at her. "All right, I won't spit in a sacred place. Let's change it. I'll prove that 2 iron balls landed on the ground at the same time, while others ponder about gravity below. When I throw the iron balls down with force." "Stop, he's not Newton, and he's not researching gravitation. He's a Nobel Prize, and he's researching—" "I know. I'll agree to let him go up the mountain. He can come up, okay? Was there a need to blow up the mountain? When he comes up, we won't be throwing iron balls down together. However, not everyone is qualified to go up the mountain, and they have to pay something." At the beginning, Zhang Xiaobao was still joking, but towards the end, his eyes became deep. Wang Wan knew that he was thinking about his past. He used to be at the bottom of the mountain, and if he didn't pay the price, how could he be on par with the heavens? And it was the same here. From the original small village master to the current big village master, the road was full of thorns. Let's go and see what kind of surprise they will give us. If they can develop satellites and space rockets, I will discuss with Old Li and give them the Paradise Island in the South Pacific Ocean. Zhang Xiaobao continued to pull Wang Wan inside as he spoke. Wang Wan carefully recalled the place that Zhang Xiaobao mentioned and finally remembered where it was. She rolled her eyes at Zhang Xiaobao and said, "Are you saying that they should not do research in the future and focus on selling bird feces?" "No, what I mean is that no matter how advanced our technology is, no matter how much money our country has, we can't use welfare to make the people develop the habit of being lazy and hate work." Zhang Xiaobao's tone was low, and it was obvious that he was feeling sad for others. Wang Wan shook her head and didn't say anything. She knew that Tang Empire couldn't be like Japan, because the people of Tang Empire always wanted to obtain a higher social status, and there was competition. The people of Tang Empire competed for almost everything. They competed for who could carry more wood, who could cook better food, who could eat more, who could produce better crops, who could have better houses, and who could even compete for their children. They competed for learning and sports. The welfare of the people of Tang Empire was already very good. Free education, old age, medical care, and after disasters, there were subsidies. Other than housing that had to be built or bought by oneself, there was basically everything that one could need. However, she had never heard of anyone waiting for relief every day. This wasn't the era that she and Xiao Bao were in. Many people were shameless, and in this era, if anyone were to take relief, they would be looked down upon. The people of Tang Empire were relatively simple. If there was no work to be done locally, the government would ask if they needed relief, and they would reject it. Then, they would travel long distances to other paths to look for work. Along the way, they would enter the yamen and take out their household register to eat free food. This was fine, and those who went to look for work would think that they were temporarily lacking money. They would work hard, and it was right for the court to take care of them. However, taking relief was another matter altogether. That was laziness. Thus, things like the situation in Paradise Island where people just sit and eat won't happen. The group looked at the internal buildings and facilities of the research institute and came to a place with a cliff at the back. Usually, if there was any new research, it would be placed in a circular building here for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to see. This was to prevent any news from leaking out. The scenery of the cliff wasn't bad. There was a river at the bottom, and the upper reaches of the river were wide. The river itself wasn't wide, only around 20 meters. However, after a few hundred meters of flowing past the cliff, the river widened and became a small lake. At the other end of the lake, there was a dam, and the entire structure looked like a gourd. The river was man-made. In the past, there might have been a river here, which was why there was a cliff. However, it became a dry cliff later on, and now, the water was diverted from another river. One reason was to prevent those who were interested in Tang Empire's technology from climbing up easily. The other reason was to test the experimental subjects in the water. More importantly, it could be used as a trap. If someone tried to sneak in, they would know that their choice was wrong. Standing in front of the circular building at the back, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were very satisfied. Along the way, many students only nodded at them when they saw them. No one bowed down to them, and no one tried to flatter them. The two of them knew that if there was danger, the students would use their bodies to block it for them. However, they wouldn't try to curry favor with them just because of their high status. People in the research institute had to have this kind of temperament. If the enemy had a knife on their neck, they had to say to the enemy, "Wait until I finish this experiment." The two of them happily waited in front of the entrance of the building, waiting for someone to pick them up. They couldn't just go in directly. What if someone was researching something and was disturbed by their footsteps and the experiment failed? Who would bear the responsibility? After waiting for a while, someone came out and said to the two of them, "Go to the platform at the entrance of the cave in the middle of the cliff first." After saying that, the person went in. Seeing that he was in a hurry, it was obvious that he still had something to do. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't care about the other party's attitude. They called a few people and went in through a hole. Following the stairs, they finally came to a platform that extended out slightly from the cliff about 5 meters above the water. This was man-made. Then, the two of them saw a person they didn't want to see for the time being. This person was fishing there. In addition to fishing tools, there was also a chopping board, a knife holder, a stove, and a liquefied petroleum gas tank on the platform. There was also a pile of boxes that looked like musical instruments. "Xiaobao, Cuckoo, you're here?" The fisherman heard the footsteps and greeted them without turning his head. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at each other and took a deep breath at the same time. Then they said in unison, "Grandpa Bai, are you fishing?" "Haha, yes, fishing." Since the arrival of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan changed Bai Go's fate of death, now he was more energetic and his body was strong enough. However, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't like to see him fishing. God knows why he came here today. Zhang Xiaobao moved forward and looked at the bucket next to him. There was not a single fish in it. He asked, "Grandpa Bai, how long have you been fishing?" "Not long. 2 hours. I've been waiting for you too. In a while, it will be noon. We can eat fish. The tools and ingredients are all prepared for you." Bai Go looked leisurely and pointed at the things on the platform. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the edge of the platform again to see if there was a rope below. If there was, there might be a net for fish. Usually, in order to keep the fish fresh, people would put the fishes in the net and then let them flow into the water. However, there was no rope. "Grandpa Bai, Cuckoo, and I will get a net and come back to catch the fish for you. Let's go, madam, Zhang Xiaobao said sincerely to Bai Go. He pulled Wang Wan and was about to leave. Stop. Bai Go still didn't turn around. He said, there is no need for a net. The current method is very good. I'm afraid that you two will not come back if you get the net. Impossible. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had to turn back. They looked at Bai Go's small pole and then at the rapid flowing water below. They were very distressed. Not to mention the pole was 5 meters high. With the speed of the flowing water, how could they hope to catch the fish by accident? Bai Go retracted the hook and looked at the empty top. He put the bait again. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's teeth turned cold. The bait was definitely not bitten by the fish. It was washed away by the water. Why use bait? Just use the hook and pull in the water. Whichever fish is caught by the hook will be unlucky. Xiaobao, Cuckoo, what we eat for lunch depends on you too. Work hard. Don't be afraid of difficulties. Be bold. Bai Go looked like he believed in them. Zhang Xiaobao nodded as if he had accepted his fate. Okay. Grandpa Bai, do you have any more hooks? Can you lend me some? No, only this one. Bai Go was very honest. Only one. Zhang Xiaobao took a closer look. Sure enough, there was only one hook under the line of the handpole. According to this calculation, the probability of catching a fish was too low. Hence, Zhang Xiaobao took the pole. He did not use the bait and directly threw it down. Seeing that the line was slanted, he rushed forward. Grandpa Bai, let's talk about fish. Wang Wan decided to take the initiative to bring it up. She wanted to leave after the conversation was over. She had to have lunch. Haha, there's no hurry. Let's wait until we catch some fish. As Bai Go spoke, he took out a thick book from his bosom, on which were written the words Dictionary of the Great Tang. Wang Wan knew it. It was a dictionary specially compiled for people to learn. At the same time, it also compiled a dictionary and a dictionary of idioms. Now that they didn't learn Arya, they all used pinyin instead of Chinese characters. In the past, the Chinese characters that were spelled out were cut off and replaced with letters. It was easier to remember. For example, a certain rhyming word, go, how to use Chinese characters to express it. Just write, chu-yu, cut. That is, use two characters to spell each other. If you change it to pinyin, it would be, chu-yu. Now, you know how to pronounce the word, go. It was spelled out by two characters. But how to pronounce, chu, and yu? Continue to use other Chinese characters to spell. In the end, they found a problem. A certain word needs to be spelled with the word, go, to pronounce it. Then how to pronounce, go? Refer to the above. Yes, it had come back after going one round. It was very confusing. It was much easier to change to pinyin. You just need to remember the 26 letters. Of course, this dictionary was not the dictionary of the later generations. There were many pronunciations in this dictionary, such as Biang, Pia, Duong, etc. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not agree with the simplified Chinese characters and pinyin of the later generations. Because there were some inadequacies and mistakes in the dictionary, no one corrected them. They had been using it all along. Occasionally, someone would change a few places, as if they had done a great deed. The credit could be given, but you should continue to change it. You change a small place every year just to sell a new dictionary? Now, Bai Go was holding the dictionary and looking at it. He was shaking his head and even kept making sounds for different pronunciations of certain words. It gave people the feeling that he was not looking at a dictionary, but a musical score. He was very engrossed in it and looked very beautiful. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's teeth hurt again. It was a kind of nerve pain. The two of them did not object to someone memorizing the dictionary. They had memorized Arya before, but they could not stand someone repeating the pronunciation of a word dozens of times. When Bai Go read the same word, his rhythm was different. Normally, if you read it in 4 or 4 beats, with a quarter note as a beat. There were 4 beats in every bar. You would read it in 4 or 8 notes. Even if it was faster like the 16th notes, it was acceptable. The repetitive rhythm and tone would be automatically ignored as one listened to, and would become background music. But why did you have to change the rhythm as you read? Sometimes you would add points, sometimes you would cut them, and sometimes you would use triplets. There was also a weak start and empty beat. The other people's mind had to follow you. What did it sound like? Telegram. That's right. That's it. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at each other again. The two of them suspected that they had overlooked something, so Old Man Pai was unhappy and used this method to torture them. Zhang Xiaobao used the hook to paddle in the water for a while. Then he turned his head and listened to the background music. He mouthed to Wang Wan, "Should we find an excuse to leave?" "I don't think so. Old Man Pai is very smart. Besides, he won't let us leave. Unless there is something really important, we can't force ourselves to leave." Wang Wan replied, "That's right. We are in such a high position, but we are still suppressed by others." "Why?" As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he took out a small telescope and looked into the water below. He wanted to see if there were any fish. Wang Wan patted him and signaled for him to look at her mouth. Then she said, "It means that we are following the rules. The old man who volunteered to sweep the streets for free asked us to help. How can we not go?" Zhang Xiaobao shook his head. "No, we have to sweep. It has nothing to do with status. It is a matter of human nature. If a kid needs us to help draw hopscotch, we have to help too." "That's right. That's why we live to the fullest. I guess we didn't consider it carefully somewhere. Old Man Pai likes to play this kind of game. Since we have nothing to do today, let's play with him." "Is that respectful?" Wang Wan said. "Yes, right. Did you bring snacks?" "I'm not Xiao Bei. I carry a bag all day like a treasure bag. I even ask Xiao Yuan to help me carry a big bag with all kinds of things in it." "That's right. It's hard on Xiao Yuan to have such a lively and opinionated wife." "Why are you staring at me like that? I don't mean anything else. I just want to say, a fish took the bait." "Look, what kind of fish is it?" "Sigh. It's just a false joy. Maybe there was a tree branch just now. Look at Tion, it's really interesting. Hee hee. That. What's wrong with having an opinionated wife?" "Well, at critical moments, when you're not around, the wife can handle things. You don't have to worry about her. She's like a firefighter." Today, this wife is in trouble, and the husband rushed over. Tomorrow, that wife is in trouble, and the husband. How many wives? 1. Of course, 1. What I meant was, today, my wife is in trouble. Tomorrow, my wife is in trouble. The order of the words is not arranged properly. As for lip reading, it's difficult. Ha 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 ha. Wang Wan couldn't help but laugh. What did this have to do with lip reading and difficulty? As she laughed, she hammered Zhang Xiaobao's shoulder with her fist. She was amused by Zhang Xiaobao's honest expression as he corrected the wrong words. Zhang Xiaobao continued to draw the retractor seriously. Bai Go looked up in surprise. "What are you laughing at? Did I read it wrong?" "Woo." Wang Wan covered her mouth and shook her head vigorously. Then, she poked Zhang Xiaobao with her finger. Zhang Xiaobao turned his head and said to Old Man Pai with the same sincere expression, "I'm not laughing at you. There was a fish just now. It was so big. It hit its head against the wall. Then, in a daze, it was washed away by the water. The moment it disappeared, it actually turned around and threw a wink. It scared the other fish behind it so much that it also hit the wall." Woo. Hearing Zhang Xiaobao's sincere words, Wang Wan covered her mouth with one hand and hammered his shoulder with the other. Old Man Pai obviously wasn't stupid, so no matter how sincere Zhang Xiaobao's expression and tone were, he didn't believe it. However, he didn't say anything. He just took it as, "It's true," and continued to read the dictionary with emotion. Time passed slowly. If one stood outside, the sun was already above their heads. The shadow under their feet was guaranteed to be a small ball. Not a single fish was caught. Old Man Pai stopped singing and flipped over there. Occasionally, he closed his eyes and pretended to think. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also pretended to sleep. It was just a meal. It was nothing. They believed that when Old Man Pai couldn't take it anymore, he would say what he needed to say. It was a pity that Bei Bei wasn't here. Otherwise, she would have found food in her bag. Noon passed, and no one had eaten. Zhang Xiaobao was afraid that Wang Wan was hungry, so he gently nudged Wang Wan, who was resting with her eyes closed, and asked, "Are you hungry?" "What do you think?" Wang Wan glanced at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao said, "Actually, there is food. It's just that we've been too comfortable and didn't realize it. If you were carrying out a special mission, and I was hiding in the forest to avoid being hunted, we would have been full long ago. What do you want to eat? The noodles are good noodles. There's sesame oil inside. It's such a big lump. Change the quantifier. Oh. It's such a big lump. Do you want to eat it? Wait a moment. Grandpa Bai hasn't eaten yet. He can't eat this. When did he suffer like we did? Sigh. Everyone says that I can fly over roofs and vault over walls. Who knows how many times I broke bones and sprained tendons when I was practicing. It's really handsome. Thank you. You're welcome. Then let's sleep for a while more. Okay. The two of them continued to sit there and sleep after a while. The sun began to move westward. It moved, and 4 hours later, it was gone by the sun. It's time for lunch, right? Bai Go's stomach rumbled a few times. He opened his eyes and asked the two of them. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were sleeping comfortably when they were awakened by the sound. They looked at each other, and Zhang Xiaobao said, "It's night. We haven't caught any fish yet." When Bai Go heard this answer, he stared at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan in disbelief. Zhang Xiaobao clearly saw a message in Old Man Pai's eyes that said, "How can you two not catch any fish?" It seemed that it was wrong to not be able to catch any fish with a hand pole at a height of more than 5 meters. They would be criticized by the whole Tang Empire. They should be ashamed of themselves. Wang Wan was still covering her mouth and laughing. She couldn't stop. Zhang Xiaobao felt that he was being looked down upon. He was angry, speechless, and sullen. But he was a good young man who knew how to respect the old and care for the young. So he pointed at the utensils on the stove and said, "Grandpa Bai, how about I tie a utensil with a fishing line? You can drink a bowl of water from your hometown first." "No, I want to eat the fish from my hometown," Bai Go insisted. It seemed that he had to eat fish today. "Later, we'll change the director of the research institute. How dare you set us up with Old Man Pai?" Zhang Xiaobao looked at Wang Wan and moved his mouth. Wang Wan continued to laugh. "I'm hungry." Bai Go rubbed his stomach with both hands. Zhang Xiaobao nodded. "Okay, it's just fish. I'm fishing. You force me to show my skills." As soon as he finished speaking, he took out a dagger from his waist. To be precise, it was a dagger. Bai Go stepped back and said, "Are you going to use a flying dagger?" "Flying dagger in the water at this height and this speed? I'll be crazy," Zhang Xiaobao said. He opened a hole on the handle of the dagger and pulled out a fishing line and a needle. Wang Wan stopped laughing at this time. She carefully cut a piece of cloth from her lapel with the knife Zhang Xiaobao took out. Then she sewed a fish-shaped object with a needle and thread. She left a hole, stuffed the bait into it, and buried the hook of the fishing rod. Then she picked up a stone and tied it with a line. She hung it on the fishing rod together with the fake fish. She shook her hand and threw it down, dragging it back and forth against the current. Wang Wan took out the knife she was carrying, tied the line, and handed it to Zhang Xiaobao. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were serious. For them, there was no reason to survive in the wild. They had to use everything they could to get food. Wang Wan used to be in the army, and the requirement was to survive in a specific range and environment with the things in the standard tactical backpack. For Zhang Xiaobao, even if he was naked, he had to survive in any kind of environment. It was a kind of happiness to have a dagger. A single-edged serrated knife could solve all problems. In comparison, Wang Wan's courses were worse than Zhang Xiaobao's. However, Wang Wan knew theoretical knowledge, and over the years, she had learned a lot from Zhang Xiaobao. So under Bai Go's incredulous gaze, a big fish bit the fake fish. Wang Wan suddenly lifted the fishing rod, and Zhang Xiaobao threw the dagger with a string behind it. The big fish only struggled in the air for a moment before the dagger stabbed into its head, and it lost all signs of life. Black fish, more than 7 kilograms. It's enough for the 3 of us to eat. Zhang Xiaobao picked up the fish and said to Old Man Pai with a smile. Bai Go. He was really speechless. He knew that Zhang Xiaobao was a strong individual, and he specialized in survival in the wild. He still remembered how he jumped on roofs and ran on walls during the sword competition in Mount Hua. But his purpose today was to starve the 2 of them. For this reason, he ate 4 boiled eggs in the morning. When he first arrived at the platform, he also ate half a kilogram of beef jerky, the kind that was air-dried. How could Zhang Xiaobao be so strong? It seemed that even without their own fishing rod, they could still catch fish if they wanted to. Wang Wan should also have a knife with needle and thread in it. Zhang Xiaobao began to get busy. In fact, he did have something to eat, because in addition to tools, Bai Go also brought some supplementary ingredients, such as chili, cucumber, flour, eggs, and so on. However, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not plan to eat the smashed cucumber or scrambled eggs. The 2 of them deliberately dawdled until this moment to show their true skills. They wanted to play the game with Old Man Bai. At the same time, Zhang Xiaobao turned on 3 stoves and started to get busy. It would be too lame to stew 7 kilograms of black fish directly. The fish head was chopped to make steamed fish head with chili peppers. The bones were shaved to make soup. The skin was peeled to make a salad. The meat was cut into sashimi, and the rest was made into caramel. The tail was taken out and braised. 5 dishes, 1 soup, and 1 fish were ready. Except for the sashimi and the skin, the rest of the dishes made by Go drool. Grandpa Bai, try it. Xiao Bao hasn't cooked for several days. I don't know if his cooking skills have deteriorated. Wang Wan found a 2-catty bottle of wine with 56 degrees Celsius. After boiling it, she poured a small cup of wine for Bai Shu. It was a 5 yuan cup, so 2 cups were equivalent to 1 tael of wine. The 4 eggs and half kilograms of beef jerky in the morning had been digested by now. He picked up the chopsticks and started to eat. As for the taste, he didn't need to think about it. It was Xiao Bao's food. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also ate. Each of them drank a small bowl of soup first, and then chewed the food slowly. This way of eating could be digested faster. If they swallowed a piece of meat directly, the stomach acid needed to corrode the inside of the meat bit by bit from the outside. Now that the food was chewed into a paste, they could enter the next step as soon as the stomach acid touched it. Bai Go ate until he was 30% full before he slowed down. He sipped the wine and said, "Why don't I say that the sashimi in my hometown is still the best? I ate the sashimi in the Japanese restaurant in Beijing a few days ago. The taste is much better, right?" Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan nodded quickly to show their support, but they felt helpless. Although sashimi and raw meat were eaten in China a long time ago, the most authentic sashimi was made in Japan. The current practice was also made in Japan. It was a system. The reason was that the people's livelihood couldn't keep up. Eating sashimi had high requirements for seasonings. People didn't have a good life. They could eat raw fish, but they couldn't get seasonings. Even if it was salt, how many people were willing to eat sashimi with salt? Fortunately, they didn't have to worry about it now. The most authentic sashimi was naturally from Tang Dynasty. The most authentic steak was also from Tang Dynasty. The most authentic curry rice was also from Tang Dynasty. The caviar, foie gras, pizza, kimchi, toast, and so on were all from Tang Dynasty. It couldn't be helped. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan liked to make all kinds of strange things for their younger siblings to eat. Even in their era, no matter what they ate, it would make them look like aristocrats. It was impossible for anyone to show off in front of them with two-headed abalone. Had anyone ever seen a dried abalone that weighed 2.5 kilograms? Xiaobei had it. He got it from Japan, fairly. Had anyone ever eaten a 500-year-old ginseng dipping sauce? They hadn't eaten it before, right? Xiaobei and the others hadn't eaten it before and didn't dare to eat it. But Tang Dynasty had this ginseng. Therefore, the people of Tang Dynasty were proud, especially in terms of food. They definitely led the world. Bai Go liked this kind of lead very much, even if it was just for a meal. Then he started to talk about the problem of fish. Xiao Bao, cuckoo, it's not good to have too many fish in the same river. It's messy, and the competition increases. The danger also increases. Those who didn't eat fish are forced to eat fish. There are also some who see other fish eating too much. Even if they can't beat the other fish, they still have to take a bite. It's not good to be bitten too much, don't you think so? Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan understood. Recently, many Tang Dynasty merchants had been attacked. Although there were no reports of casualties, it was inevitable that people would feel uneasy. But the two of them didn't know what Old Man Pai meant. Should they stop expanding or slow down? Should they continue to increase the military protection, or should they directly attack the enemies that might bring danger to Tang Dynasty merchants? Zhang Xiaobao asked tentatively, Grandpa Bai, how should we deal with the other fish? Why should we deal with the other fish? Wouldn't it be better if all the fish stayed in their own river? If you let a foreign fish go and accidentally die, how sad will the other fish in its family be? Bai Go expressed his idea. Don't expand crazily anymore. It will bring harm to others and put yourself in danger. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at each other. Wang Wan said, but the fish in this place are too powerful. Even if we carefully hide it, it will be slowly learned by other fish. If we don't take the opportunity to occupy the river now, we will have to pay a higher price in the future. What if we don't occupy it? Bai Go didn't want to see his own people die, and he didn't want to see the miserable appearance of people in other places when they were attacked. Don't occupy it? This is Zhonghu. Where can we hide if we don't occupy it? Zhang Xiaobao felt that Bai Go was old, or maybe it was because Tang Dynasty was developing too fast, giving people a feeling that it would be invincible in the future. So Bai Go meant that everyone should live in peace. But how could that be? There were quarrels between neighbors, squabbles between family members, and quarrels between husband and wife. Of course, he and Wang Wan had never quarreled, nor did they have a Cold War. It was because their status was high enough in the past, and they had the same secret and goal. But this was different, and there was no universality. Even so, you don't want to occupy it? You don't want to fight, so you don't want to fight? It was purely a dream. Bai Go still wanted to persuade and said, It's Zhonghu. Why don't you just fly to the sky? You can enter or leave Zhonghu. Sigh. Zhang Xiaobao sighed softly and said, The wind and clouds of the world come from my generation. Once I enter Zhonghu, time passes quickly. The ambition of hegemony is no better than a drunken life. Holding the sword, riding the horse, and waving the ghost rein, white bones like the mountain birds fly away. The mortal world is like the tide, and people are like the water. Only a few people in Zhonghu can return. Do you have to be so sad? Bai Go listened to Zhang Xiaobao's words and shivered. Then he asked with a smile, Why not be more bold in life? The tide rises and falls, the flowers bloom and wither, and the clouds move and disperse. Why not stay in peace? Sad. This is clearly the profundity. Zhang Xiaobao argued. I don't see it. Bai Go put down his chopsticks, tired from eating. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also stopped eating. They couldn't eat too much because Li Longji said that he would treat them to supper, the kind to admire the moon. The new moon. The two of them planned to eat and drink at night and sing to Li Longji, in the distant night sky, there is a crescent moon. Otherwise, they would reminisce about the past with the new moon in the sky. So the two of them planned to eat some meat and drink soup to fill their stomachs. They didn't know how much trouble they would have to deal with tonight. This old man Pai really came at the wrong time. Thinking of singing to the moon and missing home, the two of them looked at the pile of musical instrument boxes and asked Bai Go together, "Grandpa Bai, why did you bring musical instruments here?" "Haha, it's a secret." Old man Pai narrowed his eyes, looking like he wouldn't say anything even if he was beaten to death. "Shall I sing a song?" "You accompany me," Zhang Xiaobao said to Wang Wan. He didn't ask further. It was up to him whether he wanted to say it or not. Okay. Wang Wan already knew what song Zhang Xiaobao was going to sing. She brought over a flute. Zhang Xiaobao, on the other hand, brought a Chinese zither with 21 strings. Originally, he didn't have one. Later on, under Wang Wan's description, someone made it. This way, it would be more convenient to play Flowing Water. Wang Wan first played La Duo 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 La Duo. Then Zhang Xiaobao used the zither to play the song Duo Lai Mi Sola Duo Lai Suo 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 Lai Suo. The blue ocean laughs, waves, waves, both sides, floats, sinks along, waves, only remembers, today heavens, laughs, both world tides, who loses, who wins, only heaven knows, because there were only two musical instruments. Wang Wan's flute followed along. Especially when she sang, Heaven Laughs, the sound of the flute suddenly became louder. Lala Samalai Do, immediately sucked Bai Go's attention. When she finished singing, Heaven Knows, Wang Wan's flute sounded again. Lala Samalai Do, Lala Samalai, Zhang Xiaobao just happened to sing Rivers and Mountains Laughs. Bai Go was stunned. The lyrics were simple, so was the song. But why was it so special when they were together? When Wang Wan played the solo flute, Bai Go's body couldn't help but move with the rhythm of the music. When Zhang Xiaobao had already stopped, he was still humming. After a while, he heaved a sigh of relief. He closed his eyes and savored the aftertaste of the song. He said, "You can actually combine heroism and desolation together. This reminds me of another song, Cuckoos Laughing at the Red Dust. That song combines a woman's weakness and strength." Both songs are equally beautiful, and they give people the feeling that they should be together. Men and women intertwined together. Jiang Hu. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at each other and smiled. At the same time, they gave Old Man Pai a big thumbs up. They could feel it so much. Come, come, come. Let's do it one more time. Take advantage of the flowing water and the setting sun. Bai Go sang enthusiastically and pulled Zhang Xiaobao to do it again. Blue ocean, laughs, waves, 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 la la la. P.S. If anyone sees this outer chapter, you can tell me what the lyrics in this outer chapter and the first 12 chapters are. Leave a comment in the book review section. If you guess correctly, I'll write another outer chapter. Remember not to ask online. Asking others doesn't count. Dash. Chapter 14. The crowd gradually quieted down, the invitation banquet, by the branches of the new moon. Clay stove, charcoal fire, crepe myrtle, the monarch's words forget the banquet, I see everything with my own eyes. Also warm and turbid before the banquet, the waves on both sides are turbulent, the light chirping night birds are turbulent, thousands of soldiers are on the boat. Bai Go, who was shouting at the top of his lungs, was very happy, especially after drinking a few glasses of 56% white wine. The word excited could no longer describe him, it should be excited. Not only was his face red, but the most important thing was that he gave people the feeling that he was 30 years old, or that he was 30 years younger. Anyway, he looked very powerful now, his white beard and white hair fluttered together, making people think that he had finished singing The Ocean's Laughter. Not only did he remember the lyrics, but he also mastered the absorbing stars technique, which was at least 60 years of power. Good, come, 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 Xiao Bao, play the prelude. Bai Go was very happy. He took a piece of cloth and wiped his beard and the fish juice on his mouth, and let Zhang Xiaobao do it again. That was originally the flute. You should use your sleeve. Wang Wan reminded him. Sleeve? How can I wipe my mouth with my sleeve? Look at my sleeve, how is it? Bai Go waved his sleeve, and sure enough, there was a whistling sound. Zhang Xiaobao did not think that the absorbing stars technique was very powerful. He hated the person who built the platform on the mouth of the gourd. Not only was the water in a hurry, but the wind was also strong. If old man Pai caught a cold again, his father would scold him when they go back. Feeding someone medicine now was obviously a waste of the scenery, especially the antipyretic and analgesic paracetamol that was just developed by the medical school 4 months ago. If he stuffed 7 or 8 tablets into someone's mouth and drank it with wine, looking at the old man's age, it would probably be considered murder. If he did not die, it would be considered attempted murder. Okay. Zhang Xiaobao still chose to let old man Pai sing. Then, he gave his wife a look. Wang Wan got up. She wanted to use the leftover fish maw and ginger to make a soup to help Grandpa Bai. Cuckoo, don't move. You still have the accompaniment of the flute. Without the flute, you won't be able to enjoy yourself. Bai Shu stopped Wang Wan. Zhang Xiaobao stopped playing the prelude and said, Grandpa Bai, let's change to another song. If you really like this one, I can make it into a music box and put it at your bedside as an alarm clock. Bai Su was stunned. He stared at Zhang Xiaobao and said, You are so bad. You want to make people feel sick when they hear this song in the future, right? Then choose another song for me to listen to. Zhang Xiaobao breathed a sigh of relief. Wang Wan could finally go and make soup. Zhang Xiaobao's hands were playing the piano. He did not know what song to sing. He thought about it and said, Grandpa Bai, where is your personal medical staff? They are doing physical examinations for the students in the school. Now, they should be at the crossroads where you came from. A group of us always say that it is a waste to assign medical staff to every one of us. There are many places in Tang that do not have enough doctors. When we read the newspapers about which places where people fell sick and did not manage to save them, we are all like sinners. Bai Shu was in a bad mood when he talked about this. In the past, he was also concerned about the people's livelihood, but he was more concerned about power. Not only him, but also all the officials, including the people from the big families, were the same. It was a habit. He could not control everyone. Of course, the big families wished that all the ordinary people could not develop. It would be better if they could not even read. Bai Shu was not very bad. At least he had been the provincial governor of many places and had experience. He could not always stay in the mansion. When he went out, no matter how clean the streets were, he could still see what he should see. But it was like walking on the streets of a refugee camp. All he could see were the poor. Some people's skin was festering and they were sitting there dying. It was not just one of them. If it was a lively and happy place, someone would feel uncomfortable when they found a person's skin was festering and his eyes were helpless. They would ask what was wrong and find a doctor. Or it could be said that when walking on a muddy road, there was phlegm and they would spit. If it was a waxed marble floor, they could only take out a tissue and spit directly on the marble. Would it not be stressful? Bai Shu and the others encountered the same situation. In the past, it was fine if the people died of illness. Not to mention the people, many people in the palace died. Even the emperor's son died. But it was different now. Under normal circumstances, it was difficult to die of a minor illness. The death rate of childbirth was also very low. There were too many people who died of dystocia. After the child was born to 5 or 6 years old, it was in the critical period. So, it was named so that God would not be jealous. At present, if there was a dystocia, there was no need to worry about a cesarean. Even if there was not enough blood, there would be a group of people rushing to donate blood. If you did not donate blood, people would not do it. They all wanted to save a life. So, there would be special situations outside the medical hall. There would always be people who came to check the blood type and whether the blood was poisonous. There was not much conventional blood in the blood bank of the medical hall. When there was a need, they would send someone to call. As a result, when they saw in the newspaper that there were not enough doctors and ordinary people died of minor illnesses, Bai Shu and a group of retired old men who had professional medical staff close to them felt sad. He just said that he wanted the medical staff to accumulate experience, which was to go outside to treat and check the body of others. Zhang Xiaobao, who was very happy, fell silent and stopped what he was doing. He did not have the noble sentiment of worrying about the world first and enjoying the world last. He and Wang Wan just felt that they could reflect their own value in life as much as possible and reflect it through others. When he heard Bai Go mention this, he didn't have a good idea. Medical skills were not something that could be grasped by just reading a book. Medical science was a huge system, including theory and practice. Only the development of society as a whole could promote its development. If the industry could not keep up, there would be no good instruments. If the planting and breeding could not keep up, there would be no foundation of life science. If the economic development was not fast, there would be no money to invest. There were many other things. It was never easy to kill people than to save people. Tomorrow, ask the literati to write more poems and songs that praise the medical staff. From birth to death, no one will specially write popular songs to praise them, but people still value birth and death the most, right? Madam. Zhang Xiaobao suddenly thought of something. Wang Wan had already cut the food and put it in the pot. When she heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, she turned around and said, "You mean to praise the delivery room and praise the paper shop? The former is easy, but the latter is difficult. You two, come here and pick up the instruments. Continue to sing the sea's laughter." Bai Shu did not want to talk about sad topics. Today he wanted to be happy. "Grandpa Bai, you should sing more in the future and record it. You can earn money." Zhang Xiaobao changed the topic. He still did not want Bai Shu to shout. "Yes, that's a good idea. In 2 days, I will organize a group and call my little grandson who has not found a wife yet. Bring more young men and women. Then, you two can accompany him. It's a reward for you. You should know that many people want to accompany him, but he doesn't want to. At that time, he will sing the sea's laughter, and the girls will sing the world's laughter. Aya, this song is so good. I will find someone to recite the song beside him." Bai Shu must have drunk too much and mistook Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan for someone else. Both of them looked at each other and said happily, "Really, it's our honor." The two of them admired the person who wrote this song. Did they think of having a man and a woman singing, and then have a poem to accompany it? Okay. Prelude that. La 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 up. Report. As soon as Bai Shu finished speaking, a voice louder than singing la 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 came from outside. This was definitely the top male high school. If he was trained well, he could make money for the glass factory. Beijing East City. How many glasses would he break if he shouted from one end to the other? If there was no other way, they could get a loudspeaker and a microphone. Bai Shu covered his chest and gasped for air. Zhang Xiaobao searched for the first aid medicine on him and finally found it. Bai Shu swallowed his saliva and said, "Aya, what a good voice. Xiaobao, is this the person you brought?" "Definitely not." Zhang Xiaobao shook his head. "The ones in my family are all medium tones. This one is too high. The coloratura can go up an octave." If he mastered the technique of overtones and used it in interrogation, he could drive people crazy. "Okay, call him in. Let me see who it is." Bai Shu felt that he could not have such a person in his team. Without needing him to call, a eunuch ran in. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan knew this eunuch. This eunuch's name was Lon Lon. He was born castrated. In the past, he only had one name, Rotten. He did not even have a surname. When he entered the palace, he followed the eunuch's instructions and changed his name to Lon Lon. He finally knew why his voice was so unique. There was a kind of castrated singer who was born castrated. That kind of person's voice was better than a woman's. But this Lon Lon was born castrated. His voice still had a baby's voice. It had amazing penetrating power. If he shouted beside you for 5 seconds, you would faint. Lon Lon, why are you here? Wang Wan used a small plate to pick up a few pieces of charred fish and handed it over with chopsticks. Lon Lon was very sensible. He was 1 year younger than Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Before, he had been doing manual labor at home and was not allowed to go to school. No one was willing to contact him. Some rich people wanted to sell him, but his father did not want to lose face. Later, he took the initiative to go to the telegraph office and sent a telegram to Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Wan. The two of them were not free. The inner courtyard knew what to do, so they arranged for Lon Lon to go to the palace. Lon Lon liked to learn close-range reflex movement and long-range sniping. He said that he had to be ready to block bullets for people at any time to repay the kindness of the emperor and Zhong Xiaobao. She did not expect that he would come today. Lon Lon was not polite. He picked up a piece of meat and quickly chewed and swallowed it. His eyes kept moving, and his body changed positions with Wang Wan. Because the place where Wang Wan was standing just now was diagonally to the mountain, there was an angle for sniping. The people on the other side are my people. You don't need to. Of course, Wang Wan knew what Lon Lan's reaction was about. She pulled him back and asked, "Who sent you?" Only then did Lon Lon breathe a sigh of relief. He straightened his chest and said, "Xiao Xiaobao, cuckoo, listen." Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Wan suddenly remembered that Li Longji was still waiting for them to admire the moon. At the same time, they turned their heads and looked outside. There was a crescent moon on the top of a tree. No matter what kind of tree it was higher than the top of the tree. The crescent moon was there. As for what to admire about the crescent moon, it was not important. What was important was whether Li Longji was waiting for it. "Say it," Zhong Xiaobao urged. Lon Lon was brewing her emotions. She smacked her lips. The fish tasted so good. She quickly put on a serious face and said, "Do you think it's a good idea? What happened to admiring the moon? Do you want to spend the night at the research institute? I heard that you even went to the mouth of the gourd. You think it's hot and windy? I'm telling you, this is not the end. Just wait. It's over. You two are finished. Wait for your father's scolding. You dare to make Her Majesty wait. Haha. I really admire you." Bai Go was gloating at the side. Oh, adding insult to injury. Just now, he should have poured half a liter of wine and fed him at least 50 tablets of acetaminophen. "Let's go and see Her Majesty and see the crescent moon." Zhong Xiaobao couldn't do anything. After all, no matter who the other party was, he didn't do what he promised. He was very sorry. As for Old Man Pai, you can howl at the opposite side of the mountain. Next time, I won't play with you. You are such a scammer. Wang Wan also reacted and shouted, "Someone, spread the news. Tell the family and the palace to send our newly developed remote control helicopter. Tell Her Majesty that this thing can throw bombs. If she wants to throw it accurately from a long distance, she will be able to do it after we develop the technology. Let Her Majesty play with it first. Remember to put a red flower on the helicopter to make it look more festive." Lon Lon was anxious and said, No, there's no need. Because, what do you mean there's no need? It's a must. Although the Research Institute said that there's something important today, no matter how important it is, how can it be compared to Her Majesty? Zhong Xiaobao interrupted Lon Lon and said with self-blame. Wang Wan at the side echoed, "Isn't that so? It's not easy for Her Majesty to take some time out to talk to us, but in the end, it was delayed. I wish I could just fly over and let Her Majesty see the helicopter first. In the future, we can use that thing to fly whenever we want." But Lon Lon still wanted to say, "Lon Lon, don't say any more. They know that I'm here. You still need to practice your skills. No matter how light your footsteps are, you should be able to hear them. The two of them are very capable." They specifically said this to me to express their apology, emphasize the importance of the Research Institute's work, and talk about the helicopter that hasn't been developed yet. Lon Lon, I'm telling you, it's not easy to be a bodyguard. Not only do you have to react quickly, you have to familiarize yourself with the environment quickly, and you also have to understand psychology. In the future, you should learn more from them. I dare not say that they will teach you bad things, but at least they can make bad people think that they are good people when they see you. Following the voice, Li Longji walked in with his hands behind his back. Zhang Xiaobao, Wang Wan, and Bai Go hurriedly bowed. Your Majesty, didn't you ask me and Cuckoo to go to your place to look at the moon? Why did you come here personally? I'm so rude. Zhang Xiaobao nodded at Gao Lishe, who was behind Li Longji, and said with a smile. Li Longji glared at Zhang Xiaobao and said, I feel that the palace and this place are in the same time zone. Looking at them from the mouth of the gourd is the same. Turning his head, Li Longji said to Bai Go, when I was walking over, I heard that you were still smiling foolishly. Good. Life should be so bold. That's my song, Zhang Xiaobao muttered. You should be singing the song that you insisted on teaching your child. Pig, your nose has 2 holes. When you have a cold, you still have snot hanging from your nose. Li Longji didn't give him any face. After learning a few lines of the pig song, he asked, what did the research institute produce? Nothing much. Just sonar and a standard military submarine, Bai Go replied. Someone said that CI Pi's promise for this month's update was complete, so they could sleep in peace. Thank you for your attention and support. Chapter 15. The crescent moon is light, and the wind carries the water. Like a sea dragon snake, it hides and fleets. Submerged shooting, it builds a towering figure. Bai Go was very happy today. He looked down at the turbulent water. His gaze was so deep that he seemed to see the magnificent sea. Oh no, below was a valley. He saw the straits. Zhang Xiaobao's eyes flickered as he studied them closely. Vaguely, 3 words appeared in his eyes. Malacca. His eyes moved again. Zhang Xiaobao continued to observe. There seemed to be the words Monde. His eyes moved counterclockwise. Zhang Xiaobao found that it should be Mozambique. His eyes moved clockwise. Zhang Xiaobao. Hormuz. He. Zhang Xiaobao. Gibraltar. He. Zhang Xiaobao. Turkey, English, Skagerrak, Florida, Magellan. Help me. I'm dizzy. It's so dark down there. I can't see anything. When Zhang Xiaobao was about to read the names of the straits from the old man's eyes, the old man burped. He grabbed Zhang Xiaobao's clothes and said while panting. He didn't know whether he was dizzy in the dark or high. It was normal to see him fishing. Wang Wan supported Bai Go on the other side and said, Grandpa Bai, you're afraid of the dark and high. I'm afraid I drank too much. Bai Go tried to open his eyes and said in a low voice. Li Longji didn't care whether the old man was rude or not. He told Lon Lon, bring me the glucose for the intravenous drip. Lon Lon lowered her head and ran away. At least in the eyes of the drunk old man Pai, there were so many shadows, as if she was treading water. Another martial arts master, showing off his peerless skills. Bai Go tried to open his eyes and look at Lon Lan's back. Looking at him, he probably hadn't recovered from the smiling, proud wanderer. Zhang Xiaobao respected his elders, so he agreed, that's right, too bad the mortal world is like a tide, people are like water, only a few Jianghu people can return. Li Longji listened for a while and couldn't help but think of Dei Medical College's psychiatry department. If he compared Bai Qing and Zhang Qing's condition, he reckoned that some of them were qualified to be discharged. Soon, Lon Lon came back with the equipment and the 4 drip. Wang Wan picked up a pair of chopsticks and smashed it into the wall with the back of the knife. She hung the string of the 4 drip, disinfected it, and popped the air bubbles. Then, she stabbed it into the blood vessels on the back of Bai Su's hand. There's sugar in this dish. Li Longji's voice sounded from the side. He was currently eating the braised fishtail with his chopsticks. Your Majesty is truly capable. Zhang Xiaobao immediately gave a thumbs up. 2. You can even taste the sugar in the braised fish tail. How amazing! Cold. Li Longji stared at Zhang Xiaobao with his chopsticks. Zhang Xiaobao didn't say anything else. He turned on the stove and heated up the pot. After the pot was heated up, a layer of oil was formed. He then poured half a spoonful of cooking wine into the pot and stirred it continuously. When the sauce was about the same as before, he took it out of the pot. Li Longji nodded with a satisfied expression. He reached out with his chopsticks and said, "Actually, I've brought food over. Your savant's restaurant made it for me." Savant's restaurant. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan knew that Xiaobei's uncle was unhappy. The two of them didn't attend the appointment and came here to cook. This was why Li Longji personally came over. He wanted to find a family member that he could talk to. As the emperor, he couldn't get too close to the other officials in order to prevent them from affecting his decisions and upholding the law. Even when he was with their father, he still maintained a distance. It was only when he was with the two of them that he didn't feel restrained. It was a kind of equality, the equality between the monarch and the genius. Other people were not important to the emperor, but the two of them were not. Without them, the entire Tang's financial and industrial system would collapse. At the same time, they were also equal in terms of military affairs. The north of Hebei province was under their control, and the Bohai Sea was under their control. To put it bluntly, it was the three northeastern provinces and a part of Russia. Further west was the grassland, and Feng province was also under their control. Further west was Tubo, and the 8 battalions of armored cavalry came from there. Lu Zhou only had one provincial governor at the southernmost point. Where was that? To put it bluntly, it was Guangxi. The mountain people now called Lu Zhou's wolf soldiers, which was the Guangxi wolf soldiers. During the Ming Dynasty, it was said that the Guangxi wolf soldiers ruled the world. There was also Shu province in the middle and Sanshui County, which was not far from the capital. They had strong military forces. At the same time, the Shu lands also had their own soldiers, the logistics camp of Yi province. The soldiers that were transferred to the north of Hebei province were actually the Xiong army. Without Xiong, there would be no army. Without Chuan, there would be no army. In terms of military strength, the two of them were strong enough. The soldiers who could fight were all around them. In the middle, there was naturally the Miao protection team, which was specifically to deal with the traitors. No matter which province's army rebelled, the Miao protection team would be pushed back. There was no negotiation, no confrontation, no compromise, no amnesty. They ignored defense, weather, terrain, and wireless electronic interference, artillery coverage, and bullet screen. They would directly flatten the entire province. Therefore, when the two of them were with Li Longji, the emperor, they were very comfortable. There was no need to play tricks. With that in mind, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan caught another fish. It was a carp. They took off the hook and threw the fish back. It was not that the surname Li was a taboo, but it took a long time to cook a carp. It was not easy to get rid of the earthy smell in a short time. They continued to fish while Li Longji continued to eat. Lon Lon, who was accompanying them, was frightened. The emperor was eating the leftovers of others? Li Longji ate a few mouthfuls. When he saw Lon Lan's expression, he said with a smile, "Do you think I shouldn't eat? I still remember when I was a prince, there was no food to eat on my birthday. It was the empress's father, General Wang, who pawned his clothes and made soup pancakes for me. Every time I think about it, it's hard to remember." Sigh. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan listened as they fished. They knew that Li Longji was talking about something that happened before he ascended the throne. On his birthday, there was no longevity noodles. Empress Wang's father pawned his clothes in exchange for money to make Li Longji a bowl of noodles called soup pancakes. Unfortunately, according to historical facts, Empress Wang loved Li Longji so much that she became a villain and played with spells. In fact, it was Wu Huifei who found someone to trick her, and then, she died. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would not forget what was recorded in the book. During Li Longji's rebellion, Empress Wang fought with her husband. She was the daughter of a general, so she accompanied her husband even when he rebelled. In history, if Empress Wang did not die, there would not have been the Mawei rebellion. Who was accompanying Li Longji at that time? Who was Yu Huan? If it was Empress Wang, she could ride a horse and charge into the enemy's formation with a spear. Who would have the face to retreat? Wang Wan changed Empress Wang's fate and recognized her as her godmother. Because of this, Empress Wang was actually a simple-minded person. She was not good at palace intrigue. When she was in charge of the Eastern Palace, she could even play shuttlecock with the palace maids. What was Wu Huifei? She was the descendant of Wu Zetian. Others were afraid of her, but Wang Wan was not. You people from the Wu family are from a prestigious family. Who is worse than you? You know how to play palace intrigue, don't you think I know how to play? This is not called palace intrigue, this is called politics. Furthermore, I have an international swindler as a husband. He is very powerful. With that thought in mind, the two of them finally caught another black fish. Li Longji had already drunk a tael and a half of wine. Zhang Xiaobao used his knife and cut the fish twice to observe the condition of the fish. Very good, there were no signs of parasites. He then took out the sashimi slices. Each slice was as thin as a piece of paper. Li Longji was very happy. He reached out with his chopsticks and dipped them in the sauce. Just as he ate 2 slices and was about to praise Pei Ziyun, Bai Go suddenly shouted, "Your Majesty!" "What, is it poisonous?" Li Longji's hands trembled as he held the sashimi. "Your Majesty, listen." Bai Go pointed outside and said, "The sea laughs, the waves on both sides of the shore." Li Longji heard this and said, "Float and sink with the waves, only remember today." "Your Majesty, you know how to sing too." Bai Go was astonished. "How rare. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo sang it when we were on the sea." Li Longji felt that the drip would not be able to cure old Chen's illness. It would be better to send him to the psychiatrist's department. It had to be done in time. There must be no delay. Bai Go did not know about this and continued, "Your Majesty, did you not hear a buzzing sound?" Li Longji tilted his head and listened. It was the sound of water splashing against the walls. He shook his head. "Yes, I didn't hear it either." Bai Go seemed to have been proven wrong. Li Longji immediately looked around. He wanted to find something to hit old Chen and send him to the medical school while he was still dizzy. Zhang Xiaobao listened and said, "It's the submarine, right? It hasn't arrived yet? It's almost there, right?" Bai Go was not very sure. Zhang Xiaobao ignored him. He picked up the drum and hit the drum in Morse code. The content was, "Come out quickly. The Emperor is here. I, Zhang Xiaobao, am here too. Don't wait for Cuckoo to smile at you." After a series of rhythmic beats, it was effective. A beam of light shot out from the mouth of the canyon. The light illuminated the area. Then, a wooden boat about 4 meters long and 1.3 meters wide floated down the river. When it floated about 100 meters, a white line of water suddenly appeared at the spot where the light came from. That line of water was heading straight for the wooden boat. "The torpedo is coming out. Your Majesty, hide." Wang Wan saw that line of water and knew it was familiar. Although the torpedoes she made were all empty bubbles, she still recognized the ancient ones. She pulled Li Longji back to hide. Zhang Xiaobao picked up the pot and held it in front of him. He also picked up the table and hung it in front of the pot. The two of them couldn't guarantee that the torpedo wouldn't explode in this place. Under the refraction of the wall, it was very likely that they would be hit. A wooden table and an iron pot should be enough to protect them. As expected, the two of them pulled Li Longji back less than 5 meters. Then, there was a roar from below. The entire mountain was buzzing, and rocks fell from the mouth of the cave. After the torpedo exploded, Zhang Xiaobao picked up the drum and hit the drum again. After waiting for a while, he saw the light flickering at the mouth of the cave. He sighed in relief and said, "We'll punish them when we get back." "Do you think torpedoes can be placed so casually?" Li Longji was still puzzled. he asked. Who can explain it to me? A heavy bomb propelled by propellers. Now, it can be launched from underwater submarines. The speed is so slow. Fortunately, the enemy won't have a chance to hide even if they want to. Do they need sonar? A periscope is enough. The enemy doesn't have anti-submarine torpedoes or depth charges. Beside him, Wang Wan introduced with an unpleasant expression. It was so dangerous just now. If the two of them had reacted too slowly and a shrapnel had hit them, it would have been fatal. Good. With such a divine weapon, we don't have to worry about the sea. Li Longji was very calm. Anyway, it was over. In fact, his expression had changed just now. Chapter 16. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan knew that Old Man Bai had called them over to tell them that the 2 torpedoes had been developed. At the same time, they had also developed sonar. To be honest, it was too much of a bully to use this thing to attack other countries' ships. Other countries and places didn't even have cannons. When fighting on the water, they still needed to use catapults, bows, and spears. Then, they would have to engage in close-quarter combat. When dealing with ships like theirs, it was enough to have cannons. If they used submarines and torpedoes, it would be like using a butcher's knife to kill a chicken. However, this thing still needed to be researched. There were too many smart people in the world. When one side's cannonballs landed on the enemy's territory and didn't explode, the enemy would definitely pick them up and study them. When they compared the things inside, they would gradually enter the era of hot weapons. Then, gradually, everyone would have guns and cannons. This was especially true for the people of Tang. Industrial technology couldn't be kept a secret for long. There were too many people who knew about it. Some people might be motivated by profit to leak it out, and some might accidentally let others know. Therefore, new things had to be researched. They couldn't wait for the enemy to catch up. Li Longji was full of pride. He waved his hand and said, "I want to unify the world. I want everyone in the world to be a part of Tang. I want the moon to be round, and the moon will be round. I want the sun to spin faster, and the sun will be—" Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were frightened by Li Longji's words. Could it be that the explosion of the torpedo just now shocked the emperor? According to what he said, it was obvious that he was going to conquer the Milky Way. That was scary. "Your Majesty, please drink some wine." Zhang Xiaobao poured some hot wine and handed it to Li Longji. Wang Wan said, "Continue eating. You didn't eat much just now." Li Longji waved his hand and said, "It's okay, I'm okay." "Xiaobao, Cuckoo, how many of these things do you want to make? There's also that torpedo, which can sink a ship with a single blast." The two of them looked at each other. Zhang Xiaobao said, "Your Majesty, we only need to build 10 submarines. They're not going to be used to start a full-scale war with the enemy. We're going to use them to train our soldiers. We don't need to build too many torpedoes, just enough for normal training." Why? In Li Longji's mind, there was still a scene of countless submarines suddenly appearing around the enemy fleet, followed by tens of thousands of torpedoes. How could it be gone in the blink of an eye? Wang Wan followed up and explained, "Your Majesty, the submarines, torpedoes, and sonar are part of the technical reserve. We will train a group of soldiers and use them as a basis for research. However, we will not mass-produce them because they are expensive. We need to use the resources we plundered. We need to convert the resources we obtained from fair trade into the basis of social and economic development." Ah! Li Longji exhaled and calmed down. He was too excited when he saw a submarine attack a small ship. After catching his breath, Li Longji said, "That's right. I almost wanted to use all the money to equip the army, but that won't do. My people need to live better lives than all the people under the previous emperors." As he spoke, he picked up a piece of sashimi and chewed it. He continued, "War has always been a means, not the end goal. Currently, there are still many places in the Tang Empire where the people can't eat meat as they please. It's just that I can't see it in the capital." "Yes, Your Majesty." Zhang Xiaobao continued, this requires us to put more thought and energy into civilian production. We'll convert the submarine's propellers and other technologies into civilian production and let the rich buy them. We'll then use the money to build the infrastructure. Li Longji nodded. Then, he held his wine cup and fell into deep thought. He realized that in comparison, he had done a better job than all the previous emperors. Not only could he attack whoever he wanted, but the people no longer ran far away in groups to escape disaster. Even if there was a drought, there was no need to be afraid. Food from other places would be sent over in time. There was also a well drilling team that would go to the drought area to dig wells. When there was a flood, everyone would migrate when the dam couldn't be defended. When the flood passed, they would return home and rebuild. It wasn't like in the past where they didn't return. They had to sell their children and even barter for food. It had changed. Everything had changed. But it wasn't enough. It was far from enough. They could do better. All the people should have diesel and gasoline engine cars. All the people could use phones. No matter how far away they were, they could talk to whoever they wanted. All the people could eat popsicles in the summer. All the people could fly to distant places when they wanted to go. All the people could get timely treatment when they were sick. All the people could be carefully protected by the locals when they went outside. All the people. All the people. Li Longji's thoughts drifted very far away. It was so far away that even he was afraid of it. Because it was too difficult. Then, two figures appeared in front of him. Those two figures waved their hands and turned everything into reality. With a wave of their hands, they filled the entire sky with light. With a wave of their hands, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were indeed waving their hands in front of Li Longji. Your Majesty, what's wrong? Oh, it's nothing. Li Longji was called back. He said, I suddenly thought of airplanes. Does that mean we don't need to build more airplanes? Just build enough for training? Zhang Xiaobao shook his head. No, no, no. As long as we have the ability to build airplanes, we can build as many as we can. Then, we can build airports in various places. Apart from training, they can also help transport goods, especially letters. We'll charge the rich a lot to use them, but I believe they'll be happy to use them because they can show their status. Li Longji laughed. That's right, that's right. We have to let the rich enjoy themselves and buy and use luxury goods. Otherwise, if they have too much money and can't spend it, they'll snatch the business of the common people. On this point, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had always insisted on this point to balance out social conflicts. When Li Longji mentioned this, he thought of something else and said to the two of them, recently, some officials in the imperial court have suggested moving the capital to Luoyang. There are also some who have suggested building a high platform, like the Copper Sparrow Terrace. Wang Wan blinked and said first, there's no need to move the capital. There are too many things, and there's no point in going through so much trouble. Besides, there's still our heavy industrial research base next to the capital. If we want to move, we can only move to the north or northeast when we have more money. The environment in the south is better, but we can't possibly let a bunch of people enjoy life there. Then, what about the high platform? Li Longji asked about the second matter. In truth, he also wanted to build one, but he was afraid that the two of them would say that it was a waste of money and manpower. In the end, Zhang Xiaobao said with certainty, we'll build it. The Copper Sparrow Terrace isn't tall or big enough. We want to build something taller and bigger, but it can't be around the capital or Luoyang. Where should we build it? What Li Longji was worried about didn't happen. On the contrary, he gained even more support. Yuzhou, where the Anong Protectorate used to be. We'll build it there. Get someone to build it there and find suitable stones in the surroundings. We'll build a large building several hundred meters tall. The location that Zhang Xiaobao gave was actually Beijing. The population there was too little. If they built a large building there, many people would have to live there in a year or two, and the population would naturally increase. Furthermore, that place was indeed not bad. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been so many dynasties that chose to build their capital there. It would be good if it was slightly to the side, closer to Tianjin port. In any case, there were still many lands that belonged to them. After all, there was a plain next to it, and that was Hebei. Li Longji didn't care where the building was, as long as it was built. He believed that Zhang Xiaobao wouldn't lie to him. Thus, he asked the crucial question, is the money coming from the treasury, or from my own funds? There's no need for that. Let the rich donate. Tell them that if they donate enough money, they can carve their names on the stones. If they donate less money, their names will be at the bottom. If they donate more, their names will be at the top. Then, they'll have to pay for the maintenance in the future. Zhang Xiaobao gave a good idea. Chapter 17. At noon in midsummer, the people who had just eaten took a short break before continuing the day's work. The birds and the chickens and dogs in the courtyard had all found a place to enjoy the warm sun or to hide in a cool place. In the small river in front of the Zhang family's manor in Tuqiao village, a group of boys were playing to their heart's content. After playing for a while, perhaps because they were shouting too loudly, a person walked out from the manor's courtyard. He stared at the group of boys and reprimanded them with dissatisfaction. All of you scram further away. If you wake up my family's young master, you'll all be waiting to be beaten. The boys immediately stopped shouting and all of them carefully looked at the side door of the courtyard. They hid in the water and slowly moved upstream. When the person returned to the courtyard, the boys let out a sigh of relief and made all kinds of funny faces at the closed door. Scared me to death. He is so fierce. Even the old master of the Zhang family is not like him. A 7-year-old boy whispered as he used his hands to dig at the yellow mud inside the river. Isn't it the same? The master is kind, but the steward is fierce. No matter how fierce he is, he still has to listen to the master. I heard that the young master can eat porridge now. Later, we will catch a few toads and give them to him. Take the oil from them and put it in the porridge. It is good for the body. My mother ate like this when she had my little sister. Another slightly older boy was more sensible than the previous one. He looked at the toads that occasionally swam in the water and said to the others. The boys also knew that at this time, they would have an unexpected harvest if they fawned over the young master of the main family. They all nodded. Another boy who had already caught a toad said, then we should catch 2 more. The daughter of the Wang family is also in the Zhang family. Erzi, if your sister is now with the young master of the Zhang family, how good would that be? Your family will not have to worry about food and clothing in the future. The one who was called Erzi was the sensible boy just now. Hearing this, Wei Wei shook her head. That is impossible. There are only 2 big Zhuangzi in the village. They are a match. Besides, they can also give birth. They were originally betrothed when they were young. Unexpectedly, they were born on the same day, less than a minute apart. That's right, that's right. The child who spoke first also nodded and said, it's not just that. I heard that ever since the 2 children met when they were 1 month old, they stuck together and cried when they were apart. That's why they were put together. Counting the days, they will be 1 year old in a few days. I won't say any more, I won't say any more. Hurry up and catch the toads. As long as the master is happy, he might reward us with a few eggs. My mother doesn't have much milk, so I can steam cakes for my sister to eat. Erzi thought of his 4-month-old sister and didn't want to waste any more time. He called out and went to find the fork first. In the courtyard of Zhangjia Zhuangzi, in a room, there were 2 children lying side by side. They were gently covered by a thin blanket. Their small faces showed a peaceful expression, and their stomachs rose and fell evenly. At the door of the room, there was a 13 or 14-year-old girl sitting on a small stool. After looking at the sleeping children, she leaned against the door frame and dozed off. After a while, she also fell asleep. After a while, the little boy lying on the right slowly opened his eyes. At first, he was stunned, then he was puzzled. He raised his hands and moved his feet. Suddenly, there was a trace of panic in his eyes. He turned his head and looked around, muttering, "Where is this? How did I become a child? Where are the bandits? Where is that Wong Wan?" When he looked at the other child next to him, he found that the child lying next to him was a girl. An idea that he had to consider arose in his heart. Before he could make a further judgment, the girl's eyelashes fluttered twice. With the uncertain idea in his heart, the boy closed his eyes again and pretended to be just like before. At this time, the girl also opened her eyes. She was also puzzled. She also looked around and muttered, "Where is this? How did I become a child? Where is the liar Zhang Xiaobao? I haven't finished my task yet." Her muttering was heard by the boy next to her. The boy's breathing was very even just now, but he suddenly stopped and immediately returned to normal. However, at this moment, he was discovered by the girl who had been staring at him. With guesses in her heart, the girl estimated the position of the person sitting at the door. She reached out her chubby little hand and touched the boy's face. "Zhang Xiaobao? Is that you?" The boy didn't have any reaction. His breathing was still so even. The girl gritted her teeth and pinched the boy's nose. The boy woke up this time. He turned his head and looked at the girl. His big eyes were as pure as they could be. "Zhang Xiaobao, hurry up and answer me." She once again spoke in her muffled voice. The boy still looked the same. He blinked his big eyes and made a few sounds with no pitch at all, just like a normal child of his age. "Are you not Zhang Xiaobao?" The girl really did not know how to judge. "Ha, ha, ah." The boy's monotonous voice came, and at the same time, he reached out his chubby little hand to touch the girl's face. The girl stared at the boy's eyes to see if there was any expression in them that should not be there, but she did not see anything. Just as the girl was about to give up, she suddenly remembered the words of the director at the beginning. He can jump down from a height of 15 meters without any injury. He can climb a 9-meter-high wall with his bare hands. He is proficient in criminal psychology, behavioral psychology, social psychology, and many other disciplines. He is classified as an extremely dangerous criminal. "I'll let you pretend. I'll strangle you." The girl also raised her hand and directly pinched the boy's arm. As soon as she pinched, the boy immediately cried, "Wah wah." He cried. Before the girl could do anything else, the girl sitting at the door rushed over. When the girl saw that someone was coming, she pretended to be as innocent as the boy just now and blinked her eyes. The boy looked at the girl in horror and did not stop crying. Okay. All right, Bao Lang, don't cry. You didn't even pee. Bao Lang, don't look at the Wong family's young lady like that. She's your future wife. You've been together since you were 1 month old. Why are you so scared?" Following the young lady's comforting words, the boy finally stopped crying. When the girl returned to the stool, the boy went back to sleep. The girl looked gloomy. She looked at the boy and thought for a while. Finally, she gritted her teeth and reached out her hand again. This time, she was going for the boy's crotch. She whispered, "Brother, you know how to ask for help, right? You think you have a backer, right? You're not afraid of being pinched, right? I'll find something wrong with you." Wah, wah. Before the girl's hand touched the boy's crotch, the boy shouted again. The girl quickly retracted her hand. The girl came over again. Seeing that nothing was wrong, she went back and sat down. "Let's see how long you can cry. I'm going to scratch again." The girl reached out her hand again. Wah. The boy cried. The girl retracted her hand. The boy stopped. The girl reached out. The boy cried. The two of them repeated like this. After a few times, the girl did not reach out this time. She only said, "I'm going to scratch again." Wah. The boy cried. "I'm not going to scratch again," the girl said. The boy stopped. He did stop, but the boy's expression changed. He was no longer as innocent as before. Pretend, keep pretending. Are you regretting it? Did you forget to learn child psychology? My international liar, Comrade Zhang Xiaobao. This time, the girl laughed and said jokingly in the boy's ear. The boy could no longer pretend. He reached out his chubby little hand, slapped his forehead, and sighed. It's not that I'm careless. It's that men are too attentive to this. He understood that it had become a reflex. It was impossible for children to have this kind of reaction. Faced with this kind of situation, there were basically only two kinds of reactions for a child. One was to cry continuously and wait for someone to comfort him, but then he stopped. Two was to change from crying to laughing, thinking that he had found something fun, but he was affected by the adult's thoughts. Comrade Wang Wan, I don't think a police officer should do such a dirty thing, let alone a policewoman. You are too immoral. Zhang Xiaobao finally admitted his identity. Swindler Comrade Zhang Xiaobao, you have to remember that there are only bad starting points, and not unreasonable means. Tell me, where did you put the money? Wang Wan didn't feel embarrassed at all. This was what she was trained to do. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the girl at the door who had sat down again and had nothing to do. He turned to Wang Wan and said, If you have to add a word before my name, please say suspect. Now, I don't think we should be thinking about money. Remember, money is never a problem for me. What I'm thinking now is, can I still eat that bowl of cold jelly? You really know how to find a relaxing topic. Where's the money? Wang Wan still asked about the money. Are you stupid as a police officer? What money? Look at how we are now, look at the surroundings. According to a normal and unbelievable saying, we have already left the original world and reincarnated into another world. My only regret is that I didn't eat that bowl of cold jelly. Zhang Xiaobao turned around and looked at the ceiling. Wang Wan looked around again and found that this was not in her era, or in other words, in this world. Especially the appearance of the girl sitting at the door when she came over, and the clothes she was wearing, proved this point. It's all your fault, it's all your fault. You insisted on exchanging hostages. Now, my family will never see it. You have to compensate me, my parents, my brothers and sisters, and my job. Wang Wan tried to keep her voice as low as possible while pinching Zhang Xiaobao's arm and complaining. Do you regret it? Is it better if I didn't go there and let that child live in the threat of death? Zhang Xiaobao turned around and asked again. Regret? No, I have no regrets. Who am I? I am China's overlord Flower. Please don't look at me like that. My glory cannot be tarnished. Wang Wan was stunned for a moment, and then said to Zhang Xiaobao seriously. Zhang Xiaobao nodded and admitted to Wang Wan's words. He thought for a moment and suddenly said, Do you think I can see my parents in this life? Looking at the surrounding decorations and what that person said, they should be from a rich family. Sigh. Wang Wan sighed and said rationally, Don't think about that. Think about where we are. What should we do in the future? Who cares where they are? I have decided. I can finally see my parents in this life. I will work hard to earn money so that they can live a good life. I will also find a wife so that she can live a good life. From what that woman said, you seem to be my wife. I have decided not to admit to this matter. I will not live with an international fraud suspect. Without waiting for Zhang Xiaobao to finish speaking, Wang Wan then vetoed. Forget it, let's not talk about this kind of thing first. I'm going to sleep. I may have other things to do in a while, so I won't accompany you. Zhang Xiaobao lay back down and closed his eyes with an expectant look on his face. Chapter 18. Zhang Xiaobao really did fall asleep. Wang Wan, on the other hand, was not in the mood. Thinking of her home, thinking of her parents and relatives, she suddenly felt a little lonely. It was as if the whole world had left her and she was the only one left. Only when she realized that there was someone beside her did she feel a little bit of warmth. If I had another chance to choose, would I choose not to follow him in exchange for the hostage? No, I have to be responsible for my honor. Even if I had to choose again, I would still have no regrets. Fortunately, I am not alone here. I have a swindler with me. Damn swindler, he didn't even take out a single cent. Wang Wan looked at a small gray hanging on the shed, gently blown by the breeze, and thought slowly. Are you still thinking about the money? At this time, Zhang Xiaobao, who had fallen asleep, suddenly turned his head and asked softly. How did you know? Wang Wan was surprised. I have seen many people like you. If you don't complete the mission, you will always feel that something is missing. Don't worry, when I returned to China, I thought about it. I brought something with me. There is an account number in it with 10 million US dollars, which is for your funds. Your director is a good person. The only thing he lacks is money and equipment. How can he solve the case with this kind of equipment? Don't worry about the explosion breaking the thing. I think even if it is blown to pieces, the relevant departments will extract the things inside. As for the rest of the money, it will be invested in the motherland in the future. Don't think about it. It's useless. Since we are alive again, let us live a better life. Zhang Xiaobao continued to persuade and explained the money. Wang Wan was naturally not stupid enough to not understand such words. She exposed her small arms outside the blanket, nodded slowly, and asked, Don't you have any regrets? Yes, I didn't eat that bowl of cold jelly. Zhang Xiaobao cracked a smile. Don't talk to me about this. You know what I am asking. Wang Wan made a frosty face, but her child's face was so cute no matter what expression she made. Zhang Xiaobao smiled again. Don't treat me like you are interrogating a prisoner. Here, I am a good citizen. If someone asked me like this in the past, I would never give them a good face. Today, I will make an exception and never mention it again. In fact, my biggest regret was that I never got to meet my parents. After the flood, I left the sad place and stole things along the way. I went to the garbage dump to find food that other people didn't want to eat or throw away. Usually, I would come out at night and find a corner to hide in during the day. It wasn't that the night was good, but I was afraid of the day. In the past, there was still Grandpa Dean, but after Grandpa Dean died, I was all alone. Only then did I realize that I was an orphan. During the day, I would always see some adults holding hands with children to play or eat. The only thing I felt was jealousy. When those children around my age were at odds with their parents, I wanted to beat them up. If it were me, I would definitely be obedient. But I knew that if I really rushed to beat them, their parents would beat me to death. I didn't have parents to protect me. Later, I saw them going to school. I wanted to go, too. You should know that it was impossible, unless I went back to that cold orphanage again. Then, Wang Wan didn't know that the most vulnerable side of Zhang Xiaobao's heart was this. She couldn't help but feel a little sad and asked. Then you all know that in order to learn things, I went to prison, stole, trained, and went back to prison again. Here, I want to thank our police system. As long as you are willing to spend money, your ID card and file can be made real. So I can buy a gun without a criminal record. Unfortunately, I only used it once. I robbed an official's money. It's funny that the official had just gotten 300,000 yuan from someone else. Before he could warm it up, I robbed it. Your file shouldn't be there. I already knew that. He didn't dare to call the police. Later, I went to his house to steal and stole a lot of money. He still didn't call the police, because I saw from his notebook that he had killed someone. When we came, he should have been at the main hall. If he had been kidnapped before we came, I think you wouldn't have been implicated. I would have provoked the gangster to let go. You are breaking the law. Your idea is wrong. Wang Wan heard that Zhang Xiaobao had such a criminal tendency and immediately corrected him. Forget it. Breaking the law? Are you saying that against your conscience? We're not children anymore. Don't you know what the world is like? Did you become stupid when you studied commanding? Zhang Xiaobao looked at Wang Wan with a gaze that made her very uncomfortable. Okay, let's not talk about this. I want to know why you know so much about me. Wang Wan didn't refute and only asked the question in her heart. You came to arrest me, so of course I have to know more. This has nothing to do with me. If you wanna ask your own people. Flies don't bite eggs. Okay, let's not talk about this. I found that you have a radical attitude against our country's society. Wang Wan felt that she couldn't gain the upper hand on this issue. She wanted to change the topic, but Zhang Xiaobao didn't agree and continued. I never resisted, I only complained. I never hated. Even when I investigated and found out that my biological parents were forced to work in a coal mine and that the compensation money was embezzled because I was just a baby, I never hated because I had a grandpa who once held my hand and ate cold jelly. He even left the hope of survival to me. From then on, I knew that this world was not only filled with darkness and hatred, but also warmth and love. You, what kind of person are you? Wang Wan couldn't give Zhang Xiaobao a reasonable position at this time. Like you, I have the persistence in my heart and am full of contradictions. This is my dream and life. Let's not talk about it. I heard footsteps outside. I hope it's my family. As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he suddenly turned to look at the door and the girl who was still dozing off. Why didn't I hear it? Wang Wan was even more confused. That's why you can't catch me. Zhang Xiaobao replied, but his eyes didn't blink as he stared at the door. Cherries, you're slacking off again. I think you're too naughty. As Wang Wan heard the footsteps, there was a scolding voice. No, madam, I'm not slacking off. The young master and the young lady are sleeping. The girl stood up in fear and lowered her head to defend herself. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan saw a girl in her 20s wearing a pink and green dress standing at the door at the same time. Maybe this girl really didn't want to punish the girl, or maybe she saw the two children looking at her with wide eyes. She changed her expression and walked quickly to the bed with a smile. She looked at Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao lovingly. That smile was not fake at all. Mother. Zhang Xiaobao was the first to react and asked tentatively. This was amazing. The girl picked up Zhang Xiaobao and excitedly asked the girl behind her, My baby boy can say, mother now. Cherries, did you hear that? I heard. Congratulations, madam. The young master can say, mother now. Cherries quickly echoed. Now she didn't have to worry about being punished. With the young master calling her mother, she could be exempted from the death penalty, let alone dozing off. Mother. When Zhang Xiaobao saw that he really met his biological mother, he excitedly used his chubby little hands to touch the girl's face and kissed her. At the same time, he called her mother again. Ah. Xiaobao, it's mother. My Xiaobao is really sensible. Cherries, go to the accountant's room to receive your reward. Seeing her son like this, the girl's anger disappeared. In order to make others happy with her, Cherries, who was reprimanded just now, could now receive her reward. As she spoke, she took out a string of things from her sleeve. She tore a small piece of wood from it and threw it to Cherries. Cherries hurriedly caught it. When she saw the wood piece, she was even more happy. This wood piece could be exchanged for a piece of pork. It was enough for her family to eat for several days. She carefully put it in her arms and didn't leave. Instead, she stayed by the side and waited for other instructions. Mother. Zhang Xiaobao kissed the girl again. He wanted to say more to make his mother happy, but when he remembered his age, he could only call her mother again. Seeing such a scene, Wang Wan didn't know why, but her big eyes under her long eyelashes were filled with tears. She didn't know if it was because she pitied Zhang Xiaobao's experience in his previous life, or because she was moved. She couldn't help but shout, Mother-in-law. After shouting these two voices, which were a little out of shape because of leaking teeth, Wang Wan realized that she was affected. Her mind was unguarded at this moment. When Zhang Xiaobao saw that Wang Wan was so cooperative, he wanted to continue shouting wife, to make his mother happy. But when he saw Wang Wan's obviously a little regretful expression, he could only shut his mouth. He was afraid that after shouting, Wang Wan would reply to him with scram. That would be troublesome. At this time, the girl didn't care about the change in attitude between the two children. Her son could call her mother, and her future daughter-in-law could also call her mother-in-law. The two children, who didn't know how to speak before, became so sensible in the blink of an eye. This made her so excited that she didn't know what to do. She casually took out a small piece of wood with the word sheep written on it and turned around and threw it to Cherries. Take this and exchange it for a sheep's hoof. Go to the account room and get it yourself. What did you hear just now? In reply to Madam, I heard, Congratulations, Madam. Congratulations, Madam. The young master can call his mother, and the young lady of the Wong family can call her mother-in-law. With Madam's arrival, the two children have become smarter. Cherries knew that she was specifically to serve the two children. The more the children made the adults happy, the more rewards she would get. She didn't expect that the two children, who didn't know how to speak before, would suddenly become sensible at the same time. She trembled as she took the wood piece, thinking that she could use this sheep's hoof to exchange for some cloth to make new clothes for her father, mother, and younger brother. Come, mother will take you out to play. Let them see my Bao Lang and Cuckoo. Which family's children are not as good as mine? Today, that group of naughty children also sent some toads. Mother has already asked people to boil the contents of the toads into the porridge for you two to have a good taste. Mother has rewarded each of you with 20 eggs. The girl held Zhang Xiaobao in one hand and picked up Wang Wan in the other. She laughed and talked as she walked outside. Seeing his mother in this life reward the servant girl twice in a row and use a large amount of eggs as a reward, Zhang Xiaobao finally realized the importance of children in his mother's heart. He tightly pressed his head into his mother's arms, forgetting his mental age. He reached out his small hand to touch Wang Wan's delicate nose. He didn't feel any pain when bitten. Those small teeth had no strength at all. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.